I Shieldwell and Jacob are both muted.
No, I'm here.
Hello, there we are. Oops.
It's okay. Oh my god.
How's everybody doing this evening?
Go ahead, Shieldwell.
I'm doing great. I love that intro. I was talking with Jacob, in the back a while ago, and I think that intro really encapsulates his channel, and like just an amalgamation of great movies that I think everybody should see. And I almost get the impression that it's like all the stuff that he's reviewed chronologically stitched together.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I did.
Yeah. So that right there, if you want to know what his channel's about, watch that intro. I think that's awesome.
I love that intro too. It's great, and I love it always reminds me that, oh, I need to rewatch that particular movie again whenever I see a certain clip, or like The Rocketeer, for instance. It's been a hot minute since I watched that, so I need to get that back in the rotation of movies to watch.
Yeah. Let me say hello to the chat real quick. Steven's in here. Hey, Steven.
Yeah, another great person that knows a lot about movies and in-depth things about cinematography. So
Steven is a good soul too.
Yeah, great guy. Yeah.
Jan is in here, and Miss Sassy's in here. Are y'all seeing the?
Yeah, it's coming up. Yep.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, I don't see it for some reason.
Yeah, it's coming right up on screen. You might have something worth your slides or whatever is blocking it out, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's Cannoli Sasquatch.
There's Cannoli.
Hey, Cannoli.
Hey, man. Thank y'all for coming.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna put I'm gonna put the invite in the chat if anybody wants to just pop on for 5 or 10 minutes and say hello, and so I'll put that in the chat.
Sounds good to me. It's your channel. You can do whatever you want.
I will let people in that I recognize.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, they can clog up the back, but
you might have some weirdo or stranger come on. It's like, I don't recognize his name.
Let's bring him up on the screen. No.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Let's just be adventurous here.
Yeah. So there's no real topic. I just thought we could talk about some of our favorite series we like, and just kind of have an open discussion.
Okay. Well, let me start by saying thank you for having me on so many times on your channel.
Yeah.
I like coming on talking about the movies and the good classics. I don't think we've reviewed a crap movie on this channel ever. Nothing. I think you were talking to me backstage about the newest thing you did was the 2000s Lord of the Rings. That was like the newest movie you reviewed or discussed. And that's what I like about this channel, is that you're looking at the good stuff. You're showing people what a good movie is. Maybe not everybody might like the movie, but they're from a time in our past that I think we need to be able to look back at and at least absorb as is how it was intended to be viewed, not censored or updated for a modern audience or anything.
Well, you have to look at through the lens of that current era too, and you can't apply modern thinking into past perception. It just doesn't work like that. And I have to piggyback off of Shieldwall too, and saying thank you, Jacob, for having me on multiple times, discussing some of our favorite movies, some of which I even discovered through you, and also ones that we've talked at length about and
Yeah.
gotten excited for. And I'm sorry I missed the Casablanca one because that is really
Oh,
one of my
that's okay.
favorite ones. And it's my parents' particular favorite one too because their wedding song, their dance, is from that movie. So it's really a close movie at heart, to the
That's cool.
soul of kind of who we are as a family. And but anyway, thank you, Jacob, for doing all of this, for talking about the classics, for really having this conversation that still can keep the classics alive. I remember hearing somebody earlier on a different live stream say something like, one of my favorites is 12 Angry Men, and we just don't talk about these things. I'm like, I know a couple of people who do. It's like, so
Yeah.
yeah, thank you, Jacob. Congratulations for a one year's worth of talking about classics as well as great and soulful entertainment. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
exactly, Billy.
thank y'all. That means a lot. I, I I never thought I'd be a streamer, but it's, I think what happened is when the new Star Wars started coming out, and I just kept hearing all these people praising it and like, this movie's not good. What are you praising it for?
Mhm.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then I ran across Nerd Cookies, I think it was, and
Mhm.
Nerdrotic, and they were just really good content, really, honest about their opinions about stuff. And of course, Nerdrotic just starts saying, start your own stuff, get a mic and get on here, and that's what I did. So it's been
Well,
a
we are glad
crazy,
that you
crazy
did.
year journey.
Hmm.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. And I, I'd wager to say that that was kind of my wake up moment. I'd already seen things kind of going south for a while since like Ghostbusters, uh, 2016.
2016.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah,
was like, ah, man, come on. But then when the Star Wars came out, and I came out of the theater after the first one, what is it, The Force Awakens, was like that movie was garbage for a bunch of different reasons, and it or I didn't think it was that good. And then the more I saw it and I watched it again, I was like, this is a bad movie, and it tears down so much. And then when the second one came out, and they totally switched gears, they flip flopped the story, and you see what became a Luke. You're like, what the f?
yeah, right.
And Admiral Hodo and the whole, they punked Admiral Akbar, and we're like, whatever. We'll just kill him off, and it doesn't matter. And he doesn't even get like a send off or anything. They didn't even bring him up, and it was just horrible. Bombers in space, that whole thing. It just
Yeah,
and I know that they're going for a certain theme with that, but I didn't. It was bad. I didn't like it, and I didn't see a glimmer of real Star Trek until Andor. Believe it or not. So
yeah, right.
you know,
Yeah, I
and
think,
it's just
and when specifically the bombing run thing they did, when you can look at the Clone Wars and see 10 times better bombing runs from a cartoon, it's crazy. Hey Corey, thanks for coming in, man.
yeah, it's good to see you, man. And yeah, but that was the so I went online onto YouTube and I started seeing videos saying that this movie's not good. So I started clicking on them, and I saw like Doomcock. That's the first time I ever saw him, and the stuff that he was doing. And he had the whole evil guy at the center of the earth thing, which was kind of funny, and
Yeah.
at the time. And so I started so you hit one of these sites and it leads you to another. They have a guest on that you then watch, and so on and so on and so on, which is how I found Mags, watching somebody and she was on their show. Same with Vex and everybody basically. And then they're guests. So then I go sub to them, and then someone else is a guest and I go sub to them. And then somewhere in this, I get invited onto a stream by Roman of the Empire, and just goes from there. So, um,
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so you meet all these great people that some have channels, some don't. Some have channels that are criminally under. They're small, and you don't know why. They should be way bigger. Um, but there's people that are out there putting in a lot of work. But there's a lot of good people out there that have a lot of things to say. And I think there are a lot of people out there that have a lot to say, but they don't, which is fine. I can totally understand that, especially in today's atmosphere of cancel culture, and you never know,
Yeah,
what's
right.
going to happen.
And not only that, but I feel like The Last Jedi was the catalyst for everybody to really kind of like get online. Well, that and then the last couple of years, I'm not going to say that
Oh,
out loud, but
yeah.
I think The Last Jedi really got people online because they're trying to figure out what the heck happens. It's like, what did
Yeah,
we
right.
just see? I still have my, and I say this a lot, but I'm like, I still have my Last Jedi ticket, but like when people would talk about it, I'm like, what? Who? What happened? I think my brain literally went to a fail-safe mode where it literally shut down the entire movie, realizing that there was danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, don't do this. Don't subject myself. And yeah, so yeah, that's what happened. At least there's something. So from the bad, sometimes good comes from it all. And look what it started. It definitely started um a bunch of voices really coming into their own and really getting themselves started and talking about things that they love passionately, what they have say on pop culture in general. And the more voices out there, the better.
Yeah,
Thanks,
definitely.
Gina. So
Yeah,
anyway, yeah, I feel like thank you, Disney. That's all I'm gonna say.
yeah. Thanks, Disney. I don't know what these big corporations were thinking when they thought, hey, let's embrace this woke
They were.
mindset.
This is my opinion, and it's not 100%, like across the board or anything, but generally what I've seen through video games, comic books, movies, and other IPs is once something goes public and there's a board involved, it always then becomes about profit and not about the art. And it's not always a bad thing. I mean, there are times when, if you look at movie history, where a movie was really in bad shape, it was over budget, it was on the rocks, and somebody from the studio came in and saved it. But more
Yeah,
often than not, they screw it up. They get their hands in the pot and they mix, and they start causing issues rather than saving it. It's a balance of fiduciary responsibility versus artistic. And I think Disney saw a cash cow. It's Star Wars, it's great. Marvel, same thing. They'll buy it up. They'll just put out anything they want, and
yeah.
people will flock to it. The
And
problem
they
is that they they it's the ideology that they've packaged with it that I think is and what they thought was, they looked on Twitter, they looked on social media, and they thought, "Oh, this is a hot ticket item right now. People are talking about it. There's TikToks and stuff. Let's go ahead and put this in our movies because this is what the people want." But it's only what a very small, narrow margin of people want. Um, and they're just now realizing that dumping all this money into it and keep doubling and tripling down is not working.
hey there, Copa.
Hey, good evening. Happy birthday to you. Congratulations, dude,
Thank
on the
you.
year.
Hey, thank you, sir.
Fuel Wall, what's up? Max, how you doing?
Hey,
How's it
Copa.
going?
Hey. What's up? What are we talking about? Are we talking Ahsoka?
No, it's not.
No, we were just talking about, uh, Jacob's channel and how the newest thing that he's reviewed is like 2003, The
Right.
Lord of the Rings. and it's all the classic movies. He doesn't have anything that's garbage in here. He might have movies that people don't care for, but they're not patently bad, like the new stuff that's coming out, where it has contradictory writing in the same season or even in the same episode, where they establish a rule and then immediately break it with no apparent reason other than it was easier to write it that way, as opposed to thinking about what they were actually doing, which is what people see. And I think so many people are tired of being told that the sky is green when they can see it's blue with their own two eyes. And that's the part that I think really makes people mad, is when you're constantly told the sky is green and you can see that it is blue. You know it's blue.
Yeah, right.
Thought it was blue. Your grandparents knew it was blue. It was blue in all the old movies, but now it's green for whatever reason.
It's just the Technicolor process. But what is Jacob's like special thing that I think he's got going on and is he revisits the classics and he kind of reignites a life into them that otherwise might be forgotten about. And that was the one thing that made me start my channel, was I wanted to make sure like some of these things are preserved so we don't get into a culture where we have so much bad piled onto us that mediocrity looks great. And we are in that period now where mediocrity is praised and championed. And I look at some stuff like, you know, this might be a hot take, but I thought Ford versus Ferrari wasn't like the perfect movie. I thought it was a good movie, but people championed it as a classic, like an instant classic. And I'm like, no, this thing 20 years ago would have been just an okay to good movie. But because it didn't have any kind of messaging in it other than just dudes hanging out and racing cars, people thought it was one of the greatest movies to come out in the last 10 years. So I think what Jacob is doing is making sure that we don't lose our culture. He preserves it, which is fantastic. It's something I wish I could do. I just make silly videos and it's practically fart noises for like 10 minutes. And then I get off the video. Jacob actually dive bombs into these things, which is great.
Hey, Flaccid, how's it going?
Gross. Get Don out of here.
What tells you about like how things are going is I would rather watch Magitech Mags play a 30-year-old game than watch anything new on TV.
Right. Thanks, Shieldwell.
I think there's, we each bring a little different take on things, and that's good. That's what I really like, having all these different voices to talk about these things. And there's a cannoli in this chat.
Oh God, it's getting greasy up in here.
A lot of slick Italians on this show now.
Yeah.
No.
This is 2 spicy meatballs you got.
Yep, 2 meatballs.
I don't know. We're gonna bring the show down.
Yeah, bring Don in here.
How you doing, Jacob? Yeah,
good, man.
Good. Congratulations on your year, buddy. Wanted to stop by.
Yeah,
and,
thank you.
Say thank you for having me on your show in the past. I know it's been tough lately with the work schedule, but I plan to make time for you in the future, I promise. But that time we did the 12 Angry Men show was fantastic because it's one of my favorite movies. And like I said in the chat, we need people like you on this platform to talk about these older movies that nobody dares to discuss, and it's important. So yeah, you got to keep up the good work there. Even if Cope is on your show, I'll still watch.
Yeah, just make it 10 times better, buddy.
Yeah. And then Mags and Shieldwell, hope you're both doing well.
I'm doing good.
Go ahead, Shieldwell. I'm sorry.
I was just saying I'm recovering and I can like talk and stuff now.
Good.
But yeah, it was I kind of took a break from like everything.
Sure.
Because I was like all hopped up on drugs, but
right.
But yeah, I needed it.
That might have been a good stream there, Shieldwall. All hopped up on drugs and trying to talk.
I couldn't. Yeah, I would have sounded like Sofa King. You know, the sofa that you sit on with a crown.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't. Thanks to y'all too. I mean, I've been on y'all's shows too, and I think that we always have the chat. Say the chat is what makes our channel, and it is.
Mm-hmm.
The people that follow us and keep us inspired to go on.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think everyone has they've kind of set up their own little niche or whatever, talking about the same things but in a different way. Like like the Flacids, they're with their humor and the way that they view those things through that lens is, I like it. It's a lot of fun. The way that they do those things, and then you have Jacob's channel, which is basically just pretty serious. I mean, those guys are serious too. Seriously crazy.
Yeah,
seriously lunatics.
Yeah, their video on how Blue Beetle is connected to Mrs. Doubtfire was one of the serious things they've ever done. Fantastic stuff. I'm still trying to figure out how we're going to draw the line there, but yeah, it's great stuff. Great content.
But that's what you need, and that comes from, see, in my experiences, I've said this before, I'm like 20% dude bro, the rest is like a nerd, right? Just because of my background. So I know what it's like to sit in the back of a truck waiting for a bunch of aircraft to come back from like a combat mission, talking to people like the Flacids.
Right.
So
here's the thing. Here's the fun thing. Without, God, you're kind of praising the Flacids, but with the angles that they take, God, that pains me. But the angles that they take is just so hilarious, so left field. You don't see it. Well, I'm sorry to use Jacob's terminology. It's so left park that you just don't see it coming. You just don't see it coming, and it's just so funny because it freshens everything up. That's for sure.
Yeah,
but then different. Yeah, absolutely. You have Jacob on the other side, and he's just talking about these things in a straight up way that makes everybody just kind of reminisce about these things that should be preserved.
Yeah. A Jacob Ironside stream is like having a nice cool iced tea on a porch.
Yeah.
And a lot of these other streams is like going to some kind of crazed rave where you're like OD'd on ecstasy or something, and you got those necklace glow stick things on.
Yeah.
And then a mag stream is like going to like a nice concert in the summertime.
Thank you, Shieldwell. Thank you. That's a compliment. Thank you.
It is, yeah, like a classical music concert that's outdoors with like the little stage.
I don't know about that.
No, come on. There's a few rowdy bunch in her crowd there, rocking out to her classical performance there.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So you guys want to talk about some favorite TV shows?
Yeah, let's talk Ahsoka. Let's go.
Oh,
okay.
Please.
Okay.
Everybody loves talking Ahsoka. Oh my God.
Thank you.
What's your favorite part of the show?
The part I didn't watch, which is the whole damn thing.
I like Hung Lo the robot and Shin Hati, the Padawan or whatever, the blonde one for Ray Stevens' character.
Oh, for the Sith or whatever.
Yeah, Dark
they
Knight,
really,
whatever they are.
They didn't really say what they were, but yeah,
people that
the enemy basically.
Lightsabers.
The way the show's going, it really doesn't matter what they are. They're just there.
Well, like I was telling Zax and Gray last night on Gray's show, was I haven't watched any like an ounce of it, but from what I see in the stills, it doesn't even look like Star Wars to me. And everybody keeps telling me that it looks good, but I could still tell like from the stills that they're still in the volume. Everything looks clean. Nothing's nothing's used or dirtied up like George
Too
Lucas.
digital.
That too, and then the costume
it's-
design, like everybody, they picked the costume right off the rack and wore it. They're not.
It's
they
right
haven't-
out of the Apple Store.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
sterile. That's exactly what I said.
That's a good analogy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Steven Ransom knows what's up. Goth man.
Thanks.
Ooh,
Ash.
yeah.
Yeah. Is this show worse than the last season of The Mandalorian so far?
I'm gonna say no.
No.
I
me
like it
too.
better.
I
It's
wouldn't say
it's
that.
way groups ahead of Kenobi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it worth my time?
Probably not.
Okay.
No, probably not.
It's just as bad.
Well, have you seen Rebels? Have you seen the animated Rebels show?
No, do I look like a dork?
Well,
Wow.
What it is
Well,
really,
now that you
It's-
bring it up,
Nah.
what it is really is like Mystery Science Theater. They just put a
Mm.
movie up on the screen and
yeah.
make fun of it.
To answer
Because
your
once
question,
once
Copa,
the
only the fact that you're married to Jonna I'd say no. That's it. That's the only.
Yeah. Well, that's true. She's the
Yeah, you
best
gotta
girl.
pass with it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm married up. That's for sure. But no, I never seen Rebels. I never seen any of the other animated shows. Been meaning to, but there's some
You're
like
busy.
questionable things that are going on in there, and that was during the Lucasfilm era. Like bringing back Darth Maul. I know that's a thing, and I was like, dude, they're just
Yeah,
reaching
that's-
for characters that people want to like member berries. I don't want to
And
watch that.
bringing Darth Maul back was actually before Disney.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying is, these were calls even before Lucasfilm was sold to Disney, and it's not something that interests me at all. Just because Lucas dreamed it up or okayed it doesn't mean that it doesn't suck.
I mean, there's ways you can bring back that kind of character of Darth Maul, but not bringing him back to life from him getting cut in half and falling down a bottomless shaft.
That's just the start of it all, right? And then Disney Star Wars decided we'll pull that thread, and anybody can come back from anything.
Over and over again.
Yeah.
There just
Yeah,
needs to be a reasonable explanation as to why, other than just, well, we wrote it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you look at the at least the books of Star Wars, you have all the Jedi were destroyed, and we have one Jedi left. Oh wait, they all survived somehow. You know what I mean? I mean, they had in the books they have like a handful of Jedi that hid and came back out, but now it's like hundreds of Jedi survived it. It's like, yeah, that Order 66 really worked, didn't it?
Yeah, it just, and to Gadfly fiction, it's all pretty lazy writing. That's what it is. It's we've got 25 people sitting around a writer's room, so we're
Mhm.
gonna just do this on committee. Oh, it'd be cool. It'd be cool. If we did this. It'd be cool if we had somebody cut a spaceship with a lightsaber. Why they're flying? Let's forget about how they're outside in space and all this other stuff. Why the fighter is flying close enough for a lightsaber to cut it in half
Yeah.
is beyond me. Like, it
Why did
doesn't
she-
make any sense.
Right. Why did she think it was tactically possible to go outside into space to
I-
deflect
Oh,
cannon
God.
fire with lightsabers and then
Yeah.
cut it? Ray did the same thing, if I remember correctly. I've seen clips of it.
Yeah, it was.
Mhm.
She just should have been on a horse. Just be on a horse
Yeah,
riding out
the space
the
horse.
side of the
I mean,
space horse. It would have been.
They have
better.
space wheels, so they
How the
have space
God,
horses
don't even.
too.
All right, let's just move on.
Okay.
I gotta keep going on.
I bet I could just see Mags's eyes. I can tell they're glazing over right now.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking.
We could
let's
talk about how
some good stuff then.
I said we could talk about
Go.
how the Sopranos and Seinfeld are a part of the Doubtfire verse.
Don't get flaccid started, Copa. Jesus. Gee, what are you doing? You know they're gonna make a video about that now.
Hey there, watch the language there.
Let's talk about OG Battlestar
There we
Galactica.
go.
There we go.
Wow.
Yeah, so this was one of Shieldwall's picks.
Yeah.
What made this show great?
Colonel
Shield
Ty
Wall.
not being a total piece of garbage, and a positive role model, in my opinion.
Hmm.
He was my favorite character. He always had his act together. But it was a good show for the time. It was, I was young. I was watching this. I think it was cool. It only got like 2 seasons or whatever. But, and even when I was little, I could tell Battlestar Galactica 1980 was bad. But the original show, that first season, was just great, and it had Jane Seymour in it. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Jane Seymour?
yeah,
Bond
she
girl?
was.
Wow.
Yes,
She's in this?
yes,
no way.
she's in it.
Oh, we got
She's
Coco excited.
Boxy's mom, I guess. Or-
Dude, I
Nice.
remember my brother and sister talking about this. This is like a couple years before my time, and I still haven't watched it.
Yeah, there she is. Boom! Look at that.
Ooh.
And it had vipers. They had like turbo lasers, and the Cylons were
Wow.
freaking cool.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. And it had smoking and gambling in it. It was great.
Yeah.
I'm in.
That's it.
I'm watching it now.
Hope
Yeah,
it's gonna go watch.
You had more
Yeah.
Greek culture mixed in with it.
Yep. And Egyptian. If you look at their helmets, it was like a pharaoh's hat kind of thing.
What year
Yeah,
did
look
this
at that.
come
And,
out?
77 or 78. And
Okay.
it had Lauren Green in it.
Wow.
And shit, I can't remember that. That's his that's the family. That's his daughter,
Yeah.
that's his son, and that's him. But she was like on the command crew bridge or something.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, look at DJ Ronnie. Yep. I want to dag it. It was like it was like a guy in a suit or something.
Bonanza
Or
in
maybe it was
space.
a dog in a suit. I can't remember.
Interesting.
Bonanza in space.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
It had a good story, and everything. But Copa, what are your thoughts on it?
On Battlestar?
Yeah.
I never seen it, but it's good. It's got great set pieces, fantastic costumes here.
There
It's
we
got
go.
cinematography, and you can't beat it. Can't beat cinematography. It's got fantastic story elements. It's obviously better than Battlestar Galactica 1980, or even like the newer Star Treks. Clearly, so I give it a 7 out of 10 so far. My brother liked it though, so that drops it down a couple points, or it would be a 9 out of 10. So
Just because he liked it.
And it
Just 'cause
had
you liked it.
toys. It had toys they had to recall because of a choking hazard. That is the encapsulates
wow.
the 70s.
Oh.
Best.
Right there.
That's
Those
awesome.
are
There you
the
go.
best kind of toys.
It was
That's what happened to my brother.
So you had the Cylon ship, and it's like wings could pop out, and there were little plastic things you put in on a plunger, and then you could shoot them out, and it would look like the laser bolts. Well, kids were shooting them into the back of their mouths and choking on them.
Oh wow.
So yeah,
Yeah,
along
there's
with
a
pop,
helmet
they
there.
would drink like pop rocks and soda at the same time because it was the 70s.
Yep.
So, but
Yeah, but I wonder if that got hot around your face. The little light bulbs.
oh, they were at a sound stage. Probably not. Those were like
No,
pre LCDs,
Oh, okay.
kind of. Yeah.
What's going on with those helmets, bro? Kind of freaking me out. They look almost
They're
too.
Egyptian.
Ooh, I was about to say.
Don't say it.
Don't say- they're Egyptian pharaoh headgear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Copa. If we ever meet, I want you to wear one of those.
It's a little too ethnic for me.
Oh, I see where you're going. Okay.
And Battlestar Galactica is our past, so that's why you see astronauts on hieroglyphics.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That works.
Right. Yeah, we're the humans are the lost 13th colony.
Oh wow.
The Earth is, yeah. And it had a religion that made some kind of sense.
Mm.
And I did like that part of the newer one, like the new one with Edward James Olmos, and they got to escape and all that. But then it devolved into weird politics and stuff that it just
Is
wasn't
this
good
the
anymore.
modern Battlestar Galactica that was just on Sci-Fi maybe a couple years ago?
Yeah. Well, it's
Oh.
like coming up on 20 now.
Wow.
20
Is
years
it really?
old. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a while
We're
ago.
old.
With the
We're
chick
old
from The
for
that.
Mandalorian, that's 20 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
The one that plays the Cylon or whatever.
God, that feels like it was like maybe 5-10 years ago when it ended.
Mm.
20.
Yeah,
Time flies.
I mean,
Wow.
it had some good. It had like the
I
space
liked
battles
that
were kind
show.
of cool. Yeah.
but yeah. I like all the ships from the old series and new series.
I just
The
like the hair, but I'm jealous.
Vipers.
And Starbuck went on to be face from um 18. So there he is.
Oh, that's
Oh
right.
yeah, shit.
Yep. And,
Wow.
yeah, something happened. They wound up like trying to kill him off. He wanted out of his contract, or I don't know what he was doing.
Wow.
But oh yeah, you look at Steven. Yep, and they said frack instead of F, and that's where you get that kind of stuff from like what do you call it? Firefly, which was another good show
Yeah.
that ended too soon.
Yeah, Firefly had a bunch of like
I see.
different cuss words mixed together, and a lot was in Chinese.
Are we allowed to say some of those cuss words right now?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, this
It's family friendly, Cope. This isn't our show.
yeah. Samuel the Oh, I thought that was a face hugger for a second there.
Yeah, that's
And his little thumbnail, or whatever. So, but yeah, Mags, you didn't see the show, did you?
What was this again? I'm sorry. Battlestar Galactica?
The original OG 1970.
No, I actually haven't watched either one of the shows. That's on my list of things to watch. Currently, I'm watching SG1. So
Yeah,
Okay.
well, you're gonna be a while. 'Cause
yeah,
that's like
well,
a
I'm
10-year
I'm in season 7 now, and
Okay.
going into
Okay.
and in season 8, I'll be watching season 8, and then also watching Stargate Atlantis, to be able to see the crossover stuff, or at least kind of understand.
So you're up to Mitchell then,
Oh,
or is that season 8?
I don't Mitchell. Doesn't sound familiar to me.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
it was. I am not good with names. It's
Yeah. So that
it's when
that's-
Daniel comes back, and
Yeah, okay.
yeah. So that's where I'm at.
Cool. Are you enjoying that?
I am very much. It's a great show. I like there's it's not, I don't think it's the best show out there, but I think it was a great show, great concept. Definitely had interesting concept and everything. It had a great start with the movie. The movie is fantastic. And I love all the characters. One of my favorite characters is definitely Teal'c because of his mannerisms and completely, hey Joker voice. Thank you for
What's up,
being
JV?
here.
What's up,
Yeah,
Joker?
that's we were just talking about the OG Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, so and Teal'c is great in terms of memeability. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
I love his interactions.
Who knew he was going to morph into Kratos later?
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
No
mean,
kidding.
he definitely has that. I mean, granted, he's jacked, so it works.
Yeah.
Well, he's got the
Mm.
voice.
The voice.
Oh
is
yeah, he
perfect,
definitely
yeah.
has the voice, and he's definitely his acting is just fantastic.
And I like SG1 because of how it portrayed like an actual chain of command. I mean, yeah, some stuff was a little iffy, but for the most part, it did. And I liked Samantha Carter. I thought she was one of the best female characters on TV, maybe ever, because of how they treat her. In the very first season, they kind of wanted to go into this like, oh, men are like, not looking at me the same because I'm a woman, but they quickly got over that. And after that, she was always a respected member of the team that was there. She was smart, capable. She wasn't invincible, but then neither of them were really, except maybe Teal'c.
Mhm.
And but she was vulnerable, and in those first couple seasons, yeah, she was good to go. But she's smart, she's capable. No one treats her like crap. No one steals her ideas. She doesn't let anybody steal her ideas. You know, like all the tropes in today's stuff. You know, oh, that guy stole my idea. You know, now he's going to get promoted just because he's a guy. It didn't have any of that stuff in there, and it had a layered relationship with O'Neill, where there was an episode where they're both going to die, and they were like, "Well, we got feelings for each other, but because we're in the military, we can't." Which I liked. A show nowadays would have had him shacking up, doing all kinds of stuff. You know,
That's true.
but yeah. Oh, and the Last Guardian guys. Yeah. See, there you go. I mean,
Wow.
she's like in her 60s now, I think. But
Oh, come on. A last name like that, she's just asking for it.
Wow.
and it had a lot of good Canadian actors on there. They filmed it all in Canada. Oh yeah, Claudia.
And it had some crossover from Farscape on it too.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the actors, right after that show went finished, they brought him over. Amanda Tapping. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Easy now.
A family-friendly show.
Yeah.
And that is true, Matt. How much they nerfed Daniel Jackson from the movie, but he wound up having his, I don't know, his on again, off again moments. And then they brought that one guy in, Nemec was his name. The actual actor, his last name was Nemec, to replace him. But then they were like, this guy kind of not that, he doesn't right fit. So then they brought him back. But that's 10 years of stuff. And then, yes, Rodney was the best. Steven's right. I loved Rodney. And if you saw the episode with his real sister, the actor's real life sister acted in it. I don't know.
Wow.
I had a thing for her when I saw that. I don't know what it was. She just looked good to me. It was weird. Anyway, who knew? I was that into Canadians.
Ew.
There it is, Corin Nemec. That's it. Played Jonas Quinn.
Yeah.
Oh, really? He was on your show last month? Awesome. Yeah, I thought he did a good job. It's just I don't think that for some reason it didn't work out or whatever.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep. Yeah. They always had that. And the base was supposed to be in the bottom of NORAD. And, you know, I was in the Air Force. So I went to to the NCO Academy with a guy that worked there. And I was like, come on, is it really down? He's like, they give tours, right? And they have a broom closet that says SG1. So people think that you can go in there, but it's just a broom closet. But they really bought into it. They really, the Air Force supported the show. They even gave the actor that played O'Neill, what's his name? I don't know what I'm blanking on it right now. The main actor,
Richard Dean Anderson.
Richard Dean Anderson. They made they made
MacGyver, bro.
I know they give him an honorary commission and all this at the
They did?
2002. Yeah, the 2002 Air Force ball.
Tell me he just gets to hop into a plane anytime he feels like.
No. But it was great. They brought him out there. It was good. It was good stuff. They, for the most part, they represented the military well.
Nice.
So the Air Force was happy with their representation. How about that?
Perfect representation.
There you go.
Yeah, they got Bo Bridges on too.
Yeah,
No way.
Yeah.
The lesser dude.
Yep. Well, that's because Don S. Davies had a heart attack, unfortunately, and that's when they brought Bo Bridges on. He did a great job too. I thought they were all good. Gary Jones, he was the chief, controlling like the spinning of the wheels stuff. That's more of an advanced rank for somebody doing that. But I guess if you're going to have anybody to trust to know how to spin the wheel, that'd be him. And then let's see, Terry Rothel. Yeah, she was like the doctor, I think.
Yeah, right.
Ben Browder, he came over from Farscape, I believe it was, or
yeah,
same with Claudia Black. And then Yeah, Dan Shay was. Some of these guys were only on. They were like in the background and stuff. So, but it was a good show. Yeah, General Hammond, he was awesome.
Yeah, Hammond of Texas.
Mhm. Yep, Hammond of Texas. Yeah, it was good. That's good. It's a great show. And what I liked about it was, is with the Stargate, you could literally go to anywhere. So you could have, you could have, like anything, medieval stuff, futuristic space things, dinosaurs, whatever. They
Yeah.
could do anything they wanted. So it was great.
And a lot of it was, they did a good job on believability too of it.
Yeah, for the most part. Yep.
Not everything, but some of it was pretty good.
Yeah. One of my favorite memories from the show is they meet the gray aliens, the Asgardians, and
Yeah.
I think it's Ben Browder. He meets them for the first time, and they're like, "So, did they meet all your expectations, or was there something, anything that you expected about him?" And he was like, "Yeah, pants," because they told him you're totally naked. Just that always stuck with me. Yeah, they meet Thor. Yep, and then they have that congressman that's like, he calls him Commander, and then he interrupts him, the little alien guy, and he's like, "Supreme Commander." Just like, all right, gotcha. Yeah, because he was Supreme Commander, so you got to use the proper rank.
I know I don't look like much, a little thing like me, but I'm a commander.
Yeah, Thor and O'Neill became best friends.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can't tell, I really like the show.
Yeah, fun show.
You prefer the movie over the show, or the show over the movie?
I see them as two separate things. They're both good.
But one has Kurt Russell in it.
One has
change
what?
your opinion? One has Kurt Russell in it. Does that change your opinion?
True.
No, not really. I mean, he was amazing in that. It was a great movie. And I liked it. And then they did the TV show, and O'Neill, I mean, come on, it's MacGyver.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah.
All they needed was Jan Michael Vincent from Airwolf, and it would have been a perfect show.
I think he was a little loaded at the time. He might have been on the streets at that point.
Wow.
He might have been living in a sewer.
That's always fun.
Well, I mean, it's Jan Michael Vincent.
Talking about like underneath Vegas or whatever.
Yeah, I know it's like the Ninja Turtles where they live like a 22 and an 8 when they're delivering the Domino's pizza.
Yeah. Are you talking about the new show or the old one? Or the
movie?
movie?
The old movie. The movie.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, the old one.
I don't know anything else about Ninja Turtles past Ninja Turtles 3 from the 90s.
I was a little old when that came out, where I was busy doing other stuff.
Me neither.
Me and Copa were young lads.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was still swinging my feet. Oh, dude. Okay.
Magnum PI.
There you go.
I got to bounce, but this is one of the best shows of all time. I mean, look at the stash. The stash alone, guys.
Oh yeah,
it's a man. He still looks. He looks amazing for his age now. This guy, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And then
oh, go ahead, Shewell.
I was going to say they went into Quigley Down Under, man. Come on.
Yeah, I know.
Another awesome
baseball.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, definitely.
He went to Japan and showed him how to play baseball for real for the Tokyo Dragons.
Dude, oh my god, I haven't seen that movie in so long.
I know, right? Like, I still remember the hell out of the movie though for some reason. But yeah. Like Tom Selleck, man's man. I mean, the stat, and then he was supposed to play Indiana Jones. He was the original pick, but he couldn't get out of this Magnum PI contract to play Jones.
They did an episode kind of with him doing it. It wasn't a very good episode.
It was lame because he hit his head. And then he had the fever dream of being Indiana Jones.
Really?
Yeah. So they kind of like because the producers wouldn't let him get out of his contract to do Indiana Jones. So they kind of like placated towards him and were like, okay, we'll give you an Indiana Jones-esque episode where you hit your head. It was
they obviously didn't have the budget for it.
No, they didn't.
Yeah. I know, Mags, you picked this one too. Did you like what was it about that you liked it about the show?
I love what about the show. it kind of I loved it because what was it? Of course I grew up on the reruns and everything else. But I love Tom Selleck's character. It's very methodical. It's
Mm.
very down to earth. It's very relational in such a way of he takes care of his clients and figures out the truth. But also, I love the overarching storyline, the about his wife and everything else. Um, one of my one of the things that I always like to notice is that um, the first season, the theme song is much different, but then the second
Mhm.
season, they actually changed it to the iconic theme song, which, it's funny looking at the reruns in that way, like, that it's just fascinating, but yeah, I
Mm.
I love Magnum PI, I love the storyline, I love all the characters, TC, all of them. Um, I think all of the actors were married to their wives, like, forever, like, till death do them part. So it's really
Wow.
interesting. It's really interesting to see stuff like that in Hollywood, and especially amongst like older shows like that. I'm sure it's not as prevalent as now for divorce and everything else.
Mhm.
But it's just fascinating that, and they all had a unique friendship outside of the show too. And the fact that a lot of these actors remain in their character roles for what how long was the show? 8, 9
Eight
years or
eight
something like that?
years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
8
it might
Yeah.
have it might have went a season too long, but a lot of shows that happens too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they
So
always push it because it's such a
Yeah.
hit, you know?
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But can
Maximize
we
as much.
just say the greatest Magnum PI moment is when he shot a nun for working on Sunday?
Oh,
Does anybody remember that?
yes.
He's like, wait, nuns don't work on Sundays, and he shoots her right in the back.
Shoots her. Yep.
Great stuff. But the best episode of Magnum PI, season 3, episode 1, Did You See the Sunrise? Where you go back in time and see Magnum and TC, and then the North Vietnamese POW camp,
Hmm.
and he
Yeah.
takes
I
his
love all
revenge out on.
I love all those flashbacks too, and
Yeah.
a lot
Mhm.
it's really powerful and interesting
Who was?
because
Oh,
they try to capture because in the 80s that was like the adults back then in the 80s, that was the Vietnam adults, like
Mhm.
they came
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Vietnam. So this was a really great show and a very visceral show of
Yeah.
what they were all dealing with and trying to matriculate back into civilian life.
Yeah.
So
My dad was Navy, Brown Water Navy. He fought in Vietnam,
Mm.
and we would watch this show religiously. And you're
Mm.
absolutely right. He felt like there's a little bit more going on there than what meets the eye to like a normal person watching the show. I think it was finally something positive for the NAM vets to watch themselves being portrayed 10, 15 years later, after the fact. Actually no, it'd be like 5 years later. And
well,
they find
72 is when they got all the like ground forces out of there.
that was the drawdown, but we finally got
75
everybody out
is
in
when we like
75,
bounced.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and this
It
show
was
came
probably
out what, 80? So
80 or 81. Yeah, it wasn't
but
that long after.
you have to remember all those vets, those NAM vets coming back. They came back hostile. They were all told not to wear the uniforms when they came back to the States. I remember stories of my uncle was 101st Army Airborne, and he got spit on when he got home. That's the
wow.
truth.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that. Like, so finally they got some piece of entertainment that put them in a positive light. But yeah, I remember watching this all the time with Dad. Even the reruns later on in the early 90s, we would sit down and watch it. And it's a fantastically written story. And the fact that even for back in that day to have a main character break the fourth wall in
Yeah.
such comedic timing, and it was such a comedic moment too. And Tom Selleck's comedic timing when doing that was it was impeccable. The show really had it all going on.
Yeah.
And he had good friends that you make friends when you're in military, especially in like combat,
Mhm.
and they stuck together. TC is an amazing character. He's a good friend. hey, what's up, Salty? How's it going? He's a good friend, but he knows better, but he always gets suckered in,
Yeah.
giving him free rides and stuff.
He
And
doesn't
but
have
when
any
it
gas money ever.
no, but but Magnum always, after, it might take him 6 months or 8 months, but he'll eventually pay him back because he'll hit
Right.
a big, get a big client or something.
I believe
Um,
Roger Mosley actually was a helicopter pilot too. Like he
He-
actually flew some of those scenes.
Yeah, he might have been. I know that there's just so much to say that's good about the show. Plus, it had a really nice setting,
Mm.
and it had a car that was awesome. So
I
if
was
you were a
about to
young
say.
kid, you were like, the car was badass. And then his relationship with what's his name?
Higgins?
Yeah, Higgins. I
Higgins,
just had
yep.
it on the was great. And Higgins is awesome. And I liked how the dogs, he's always running from the dogs, trying to trick them and stuff. And those are I really like those dogs. I wanted a Doberman for a long time after seeing that.
For the
It was-
longest time, I thought Dobermans were the meanest dogs in the world just because of that show. And it wasn't until
Mhm.
Jana was like, no. They're like really docile creatures. They just look mean.
Yeah. Plus, those were extremely high, expensively trained dogs, and he took it. But their whole relationship, and how many times they went to Vietnam to track down somebody to get his revenge or whatever, and Higgins would go with him because
Yeah.
he had all these wild tales that seemed too good to be true, but they were all real.
Right.
Yeah, because Higgins was a World War II vet in the Pacific Theater, right?
Mhm.
If I remember
And he
correctly.
he did a bunch of. Oh no, he was in North Africa in the desert where he did most of his fighting.
Oh,
But he
okay.
also went on to do all kinds of things. He helped make maps in Indochina. He had all these connections and all these stories and stuff. And a lot of people thought that they weren't real, but they were. And he was competent and everything like that. And they had that whole back and forth. And those first 4 seasons were really good.
Yeah.
And if you watch it now, you just see the style, and I like to look at the stuff. And I'd been to Hawaii in the 80s. So it was when the show was going on, we visited there and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Hawaii, it's always fun to watch per decade what the hot spots were, and Hawaii was
Mhm.
definitely a hot spot in the 80s to have a location. And it was all just so we can party in the tropics, right? So hey, we're going
That's
to be
true.
shooting. We're going to be shooting for 3 months in Hawaii. Oh, poor us. But
Worse
it's a
things to be.
yeah, there's definitely worse places to be. It's kind of funny though watching the show switch from the Hawaii setting to the California setting. In some scenes, when he's chasing someone down in the Ferrari, he's there in Oahu, and then all of a sudden he turns a corner and he's clearly in Culver City or in Turtle Canyon. I'm like, dude, that's a pickup shot. But
Yeah.
but I mean, that's only something people like
from
us
that area
would know,
might pick
or-
up. Yeah.
But it's a fantastic show, hands
yeah.
down.
Sorry about that, guys. That's what it's like to get kicked out of your own party.
Yeah, nobody here did that. That's your raccoons.
That's
for you.
right.
And
Ah,
it's just, he's a great actor. How he did it, the
Yeah,
characters interplay
Yeah,
together.
he's just solid in everything he does. Yeah.
yeah, and I really feel like Tom Selleck should have gotten more recognition, more starring
Movie
roles.
roles. Mm-hmm.
But
Oh,
at least he
man,
had
what was that one movie where he went to China? It was he was a World War I pilot, and God, it had
Purple Rose to Cairo. Is
something.
that what it was?
No,
it's
it was something.
No.
Road to
Road to
Cairo.
Well, maybe you're right.
something. Man, he was in it. I remember that movie. It was good, and it had
I know what you're talking about.
it was almost like an Indiana Jones kind of thing, where he had a woman that he was helping, and she was almost like Billy from the the second Indiana Jones movie in a
What was
way.
that name? I gotta know the name of this movie now.
Oh, Catherine Lloyd. She was the lawyer,
High Road to
right?
China. That's what.
Yeah,
it was.
That's it. High Road
Yeah,
to
it
China.
is, yeah.
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 Yeah, he was in that movie Runaway too with Gene Simmons. Remember?
Oh yeah.
And what's her name?
Christy Alley was in.
Yeah,
it.
back when she was hot.
Yeah.
And remember, they tried to get Tom Selleck to play Indiana Jones. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did talk.
That would have been
about
interesting.
that. He couldn't get out of his contract.
I really think he would have made a good Indiana Jones, to be honest with you.
I
Like,
think
whenever-
he's too much of a Chad. He would have dominated every scene. He would have never felt vulnerable at all.
That's very true. Because could you imagine like how big the dude on the airplane fight scene, the airplane wing fight scene?
Yeah.
You know, he would have to be like 30 times bigger than he already is
Yeah.
to make it seem like Tom Selleck is in danger.
They would have had to. Yeah, they would have had to do some like forced perspective shots or something.
Oh yeah.
Something.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's doing all right now.
No, it would have been unbelievable that he got his ass kicked by that guy.
Yeah.
So
He's
that's why sometimes it works out like it does. And
mhm.
but yeah, he was great in Quigley. What else was he in? He's in a couple of other things. But
Yeah, he's doing great with the Blue Bloods. It's been going off for 13 years now.
yeah, Matt.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That's
That's-
still
And
going.
it's still popular. So like, good for him.
Yeah.
And he wore jeans with a belt.
Mm,
Yeah.
it's a man right there.
Yeah,
It is,
exactly.
it
You can't
is.
have those empty belt loops like that. Going out like that.
Y'all ready for another show?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unless
I got it.
Max. Oh, that's
Jason,
right.
I got to take off, dude.
Okay,
I
man.
know. But
Yeah.
honestly, 100% congratulations on the channel, the 1 year anniversary, dude. Honestly, what you're doing, and I said this to you before, but it bears repeating that what you're doing is fantastic stuff. It's definitely needed. It needs to be preserved and put out there. I think it's fantastic what you're doing, and just keep it up, man.
Yeah,
I love watching your
thanks,
show.
Copa.
Yeah,
Yeah,
No
thank
problem.
you very much.
congratulations.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, man. Everybody else, take care. It's great hearing from y'all, especially you, Mags and Shieldwall. Shieldwall, I'm glad you're doing a lot better, and you're
Mhm.
back in the saddle again, dude.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate
We
it.
missed that golden voice of yours, that silky smooth.
Yeah, I was gonna
golden
say.
voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I-
Calming.
Yeah.
When in my own head, I don't sound that good. So
All right.
Copa.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, Copa.
Later, Copa.
Whatever.
yeah,
Here,
later, man.
Copa.
Have a good one.
All right. Later, guys.
Bye.
Later.
Everybody. Yeah.
So yeah, this was actually a double pick. Max picked this show too,
Uh-oh.
and the next one is another pick for Mags.
Uh-oh.
You guys are gonna make fun of me.
Oh boy. Oh, no, you know what? Actually, this is like Vex's favorite show too. So I've been hearing about this for years.
It's an awesome show. I know you guys have no clue or what it's about or whatever, but it's kind of like one of those major shows that really broke into the North American market as far as animated television shows from
Right.
Japan. I mean, it's anime, but it's kind of one of those that really helped kind of put anime on the map. It's not the show, but it's one of the shows, and it's about the main character is Usagi, and actually the North American version that I saw growing up, her name was Serena, so it's really interesting in the new Toei or from Viz Media adaptation of it now that they're coming out with on the Blu-ray. It's Usagi, so it's really funny just hearing it from hearing a little bit of difference in names in terms of what I grew up with versus what actually some of the dubs were. But it's a really great show. It's about a coming of age story for this character Usagi, the main character here, and she's like a middle. Well, in Japan they would say 14 or 15 is like literally adult. So that's
Right,
just
right.
keep that in mind. But she's in school she meets all these friends along the way, from different backgrounds, different personalities, of course, and they all find out that they are reincarnated, princesses of a former life, and they're still having to fight the same battle because the evil is kind of being reborn again. For lack of phrasing here, I'm trying to simplify it all for everybody. But she ends up having to take on this battle, and she's like 14, 15 years old, and it's really, if you think about the character arc that she and her friends have to go through, they have to face all of these challenges, all these battles, as just young adult women in so many terms, and trying to live a normal life, but having to fight a cosmos type villain. It's kind of, it's really interesting concept, and it's a really great story. And I highly recommend it for all young girls out there, because it's a really great coming of age story. It has great lessons of having to deal with challenges through life. It's not just something silly as, oh, I care about my nails, and then the next minute I have to save the day. Not that kind of silly nonsense that it seems very MCU levels of silliness. It's actually like it's got some real like scary villains in this. It's got some really ugly looking characters that are really ugly deep down inside, and I highly recommend it to people. I know of one person whose daughter really ended up enjoying this show. In fact, they sent me pictures of her Sailor Moon drawing. So I'm really glad that she's really enjoyed this show. I highly recommend it. It's a great show, and it's got some funny moments. And I know it's anime and all that kind of stuff, so sometimes there's some silly things in it, but it's highly enjoyable. And
this came to America with the Toonami stuff, didn't it?
It did. It came on the Toonami show block on Cartoon Network back in the 90s. So it was alongside Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball. So it was one hell of a time in my childhood back then. So here I had this, girl level show, which I love it because it's all the women in the show. It's kind of has some really early feminist leanings, but not in a bad sense of feminism. It's more like, girls really stepping up and doing their part in so many ways of saying it. But I love the fact that they don't take away from femininity either in this show. Especially since Usagi has a love interest in Mamoru, and he's a prince, and he saves her on occasion. So it's not like boss girl type vibes or anything. It's like she acts like a woman, a typical woman. So it's a great show. And yes, there's cats in it, Luna and Artemis. I love them both. But yeah, it's such a great the end of season 1 is one of the greatest, most inspirational moments in any anime. Yeah, exactly. It's really super powerful. And it's you can't make animated shows like this nowadays for a lot of kids. There are definitely dark moments. They don't take away from or shy away from children having to learn this stuff, because some of us grew up with darker movies like All Dogs Go to Heaven and all that kind of stuff. So back in the day, but or Brave Little Toaster or stuff like this. So some of us were primed to understanding some of the darker moments in these shows, even though we may not have grasped it fully, but we kind of could still comprehend it. It's very hard to explain. But yeah, this is a great show. This has been part of my childhood. I've been going through another rewatch of this show, and I have it's some shows. Sometimes some shows that you look back on that you go do a rewatch, you kind of go, yeah, this was probably a little cringier than I remembered. I thought, nostalgia goggles kind of come on or whatever, but not this show. I enjoy this show. I laugh at the silly moments. And there are definitely some heartwarming moments in this show. So it's definitely good versus evil, and highly recommend it for all young girls out there.
Cool. Yeah, I watched the Dragon Ball, of course, and Gundam stuff came out too. That was fun.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of good Japanese animation that has
Mhm.
really good writing, impactful stories, a very adult, and I'm not talking about like tentacle porn stuff, like very adult themes and through lines that are addressed in the shows. So that are really good, and
Yeah.
a lot of them are really cool, and it, it the fact that it can translate to a non-Japanese audience also indicates how basic the through line of the episodes reach, because they there's a lot of things that if you don't understand Japanese culture, you don't get the impact of it
Mhm.
as much. It's not as impactful as if you do understand the culture.
Mhm.
Um, and so sometimes I think people are only getting about 80% of what's really going on if you don't understand the culture. I'm not talking about the language, I'm talking about the culture. Um,
Yeah.
and but that if you're loving the show at 80%, then that means it's a good show. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but there's a lot of good things that came out of that era. A lot of good shows that, and it's still, I think, it's kind of woke is creeping in a little bit, but for the most part, it's still a bastion of, hey, we're going to make what we want and not listen to you on Twitter.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And a lot of the anime stuff has very thought provoking stuff in it too.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Dragon Ball probably not very much, but others there are.
It had its moments, I think, between the 40 episodes leading up to the big fight,
Yeah.
but it was still, I don't know, it was still good.
Yeah. I didn't, from what I saw from this Sailor Moon, I didn't dislike it, but
It's not cringy in such a way of like too girly over the top type stuff. Like they actually try to make them as serious characters, which is
right.
nice. Um, so that's another reason why I did like your show.
Yeah. And the next one is another one of your picks. It's Babylon 5.
Yeah, big
Yeah,
I just
that's another
five.
one. There's so many I could have picked, but which is great. Yeah, this one's good.
And I just finished rewatching this too recently.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Wow.
Yeah, what, 98? Since
Yeah.
98? Started in 93.
Yeah, it's a great show. I know it's kind of one of those shows that has like it's almost like it can be not it can be made into a novelization because it's written, the script and everything and the direction is written as if it could be a book or a book
Mm.
series in such a way that it has an actual beginning and end to it, like an actual plot, an actual plan to it.
Mhm.
And that's how the
Mhm.
original creator, I can't say his name very well, so I'm not going to butcher it. But the original creator had intended it. So that's what I love about this show. It makes it feel like you're going through this epic journey. It definitely has some sort of crossover between like not just science fiction. It almost has a science fantasy element to it, and I love some of it. It almost has a reference to almost like a Lord of the Rings stuff because there's rangers in it.
Mm.
There's a reference almost to like Khazad-dûm kind of thing to it. It's kind of there's very
And
interesting elements
the
to it that I
Council
like.
of Elrond in it.
Yes. There's a little bit of influence there to that. So that's why I say it's a mix between a fiction and a fantasy in the sci-fi in the science world. Because they delve into that and other aspects. But I love the show. I love the characters. It's a great story arc. Definitely awesome payoffs, by the way. And it's it's not like every character lives, by the way. It's not like the Game of Thrones level of stuff, but because they have their they have their they have their time, and presence on screen. But there's a thank you, thank you, Matt. I don't want to butcher it. JMS, thank you. But it's a really interesting story. It's definitely Definitely, uh, it was definitely of its time. It was definitely of above its time in terms of how it told its story, and very fascinating. And a lot of and the actors, oh my god, they were so great
Yeah.
in this show. Um, it just fantastic. You know, you end up. It's kind of like in the beginning you dislike certain characters, but in the end, those same characters that you vehemently despise end up being ones that you actually absolutely love in the end because they're just so good. They're so good. They're so well written, and the acting is so well done. And but yeah, it's another great show.
You got what? Uh, Bill Mummy in it.
Hmm.
Lost in Space Kid. That's what happened. He turned into a Minbari and was a
When he got
mess.
lost in space. Yeah. Yeah. I think why the show was successful was it was on a 5-year story arc. They weren't just making it up every episode uh, and then just trying to string it together. Um, and then uh, I don't want to get Matt started on it, but I also think that this was one of the first shows that used like computer animation for the ships and stuff, and they were able to render it. I remember him saying something about it uh, before, but it's kind of like groundbreaking for the industry, the stuff that they were doing. I remember
Yeah, it was.
watching the ship combat and was like, oh, that's pretty good. Um, and you could tell that it was, you know, kind of, yeah, there we go. Like you could tell this was done on a computer, but it looked good.
Yeah,
And you know, and the story was good enough that you could get by with the graphics that it had. Um, and yeah, and then Matt brings this up. Most of the primary cast is all dead.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Sad.
unfortunate.
yeah. Andreas Katsoulis, he was great as was it Jakar? Is that his name?
Jakar. Yeah,
Yeah, he was awesome. Um, uh, Stephen First, uh, my dude from Animal House, he was in there. Yeah.
even Lando.
Yep. Yeah. Well,
He
Lando
was.
winds up being a very complex character that goes through a lot of changes. Uh, and then, wait, where's she at? Claudia Christian. Yeah. Let's see who else. Yeah, Jeff
Yep.
Conway, Andrea Thompson. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think uh, Andreas. I can't pronounce his. What's his? The guy that played Jakar was actually replaced with the guy that played uh, the bad guy in Galaxy Quest. I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
It not in Babylon 5, but other shows in the Babylon 5 universe.
Yeah, Mira Furlan. I know. I think she passed away. She played Delin, which is sad. Yeah, Lanier. Yep.
Yeah.
Wait,
And so many good characters too. Even the ones that had their faces covered most were could
mhm.
really emote
Oh yeah,
through
Commander
the makeup and
Ivanova.
stuff.
She's right up there with Dax for me. Yep. As good characters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely good
Yeah, that's
characters.
what I meant.
You had really good slimy characters too,
Hmm.
like this guy.
And you had like the weird bug guys, that squid looking guys that only ate like decaying stuff and garbage or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
the forget what they called them.
yeah.
See if it shows them.
Probably not. They were pretty much side characters.
Yeah,
Then they came out with like a spin-off series about like the Rangers or something. Uh,
yeah, something like that.
and then it had one guy. He was like a what they call him, like a techno wizard or something. It only went for like one season and it got canceled. But I don't know, it was kind of decent. You
Oh,
s- yeah,
I went on a kick looking at the like props from the show and the little
yeah, Technomage.
the little guns they used, PPG or something like that. And they have some really cool props from the show.
Yeah, and they had psychers with different levels and stuff. That was pretty cool. And it had Chekhov show up. He did a great job.
Yeah,
That
he was
actor.
good.
Yeah, he was
Definitely
really
good
good
in
in
it.
it.
There he is. Really, really good show.
Yep. Yeah. I was glad to see him in that, and like, you know what I mean? So he brought that kind of pedigree with him. Uh so you knew he could, do science fiction.
Yeah, I love the uniforms they had too, in the Earth Force uniforms.
Yeah, and the politics and the backstabbing and uh God, this guy here on the screen, right? Isn't he from like General Hospital or something? Um or some other kind of like Dallas or some 80s show like that.
Not sure.
Knots Landing or some crap.
Robert Foxworth.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. Is he still alive?
Looks like it.
He was born in 1941, so he's it's still possible.
Yeah, he's Houston, Texas. Yeah, he's been on a lot. Been in the Transformer movies. I think one of the robots or something.
Is it the Pac Mira that are the squid guys? They're like squid faces
Pac
or something?
Mara or something like
Pac-Mara,
that.
yeah. I know they made them Rangers because nobody ever paid attention to them. Like they're invisible to most people because they're so just, you know what I mean? Nobody like wants to be near them or anything, so they can
Yeah.
just kind of hang out and gather intelligence.
And
Who?
that kind of stuff is really good
Yeah,
world building
yeah.
kind of stuff.
Who was your favorite character, Mags?
Oh God, I think it's Jakar, to be quite honest. His whole story arc is just fantastic. Well, no.
I know there are a lot of
I
good.
just
Yeah,
I love his and God, I'm not really good with names. That's why I'm for some
Lando's.
reason Lando's. Thank you.
Yeah,
It's funny. I can remember Jakar's, but I can't remember Lando's. I love their relationship, and it's such a powerful.
right.
It's tragic, but it's powerful and just I don't know how to explain it. It's such a to me talk about out of body experience from Dave Filoni over to Ahsoka. That was an absolute out of body experience. Having to see two races hate each other's guts, and in the end, it's Jakar that's at Lando's side.
Hmm.
It's just such a powerful, and it's not just sudden or whatever. It's a slow, gradual. What do you want to call it? A slow burn build up to something like that. And
It
it's
takes
just
almost the entire 5 seasons or five
yes,
or yeah 5 seasons to do it.
and it's such a powerful experience of going from enemies to friends, and actually and just sympathetic friends. It's not. It's like they're caught in between because they've just been played along the entire time due to circumstances, and it's just I don't forget the actor who played Jakar, but he like a Shakespearean actor or something, like, so he clearly had the true Shakespearean tragedy uh, kind of experience through all of that, and it's such a powerful experience. Yeah,
Yeah.
like Mr. Chocochrunk says, their relationship is a lot like Gimli and Legolas in Lord of the Rings.
If I recall correctly, though, there was a point where they were bitter enemies, and they kind of got close, but then something happened where either one or the other could get an advantage, and it split them apart again, and then they came back together.
Yeah, it was Lando. Actually, I think he did like a sneak attack on his planet, on
right.
Jakar's planet. And
There he
Hey there,
is. Hey,
Matt.
Matt, how's it going? Lurker
guys.
Matt.
Hey, Matt.
What's up, Matt?
I like how you liked my pick for Sailor Moon and now Babylon 5. So
I won't ruin you guys with it, but I could still sing the Sailor Moon theme song 30 years later.
really, can you do that right now?
That's great.
We'll play the music and I'll give it a shot. And
Oh no, I don't want to take this down. I don't want to take
No.
Jacob down.
Yeah, this was.
I can't do it in Japanese anymore. I used to.
I remember I sort of remember the English version, but I have to.
I
look
typed
it
the
up.
whole thing out. Like as soon as you said, I was like going crazy because I was like spazzing it out because it's such a memorable. Like I don't know how to explain this without spoiling it because I want people to actually watch it. But the end of that first season, like I was like 15 or whatever, because I had read the manga, so it was like 15, and I think the anime came out in the U.S. when I was like 20, and and it's what you call a shoujo anime, which means intended towards girls, not boys, type of thing. But in the anime community, we were so desperate for anime, we watched everything. You know what I mean? Like, and with horrible fan translations and whatever. And you watch it, and I watched that first season, and like it was like okay, and then the last 15 episodes happened, and well, I'll put it this way, okay. I have to spoil it to say why it's so amazing, but if you don't want to be spoiled, right, just like cut yourself off for 3 minutes, okay? So she explained how it started, right, which is there was an ancient kingdom in the solar system where the Queen of the Moon basically ruled the solar system, right? And that was Queen. I don't remember her Japanese name, but it was Queen Serenity, right? That was Usagi's mother. And can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
So, and then a force outside the solar system attacked and was destroying everything. And she had a weapon, a sort of power of last resort called the Silver Imperium Crystal, right? But there's a price to using it, and it's your life. And you're taken out of the cycle of reincarnation forever and all sorts of stuff like that. So she used it, and it repelled her, and then she gave her daughter, which is Usagi, and the princesses of the other colonies, and plus all the people on the moon. She had them being reborn in the modern day Japan, right? So you jump forward to the end where this what was her name? Queen, the evil queen from the first season. She attacks.
I want to say Queen Beryl.
Queen Beryl. She's about to destroy everything again, and first the Sailor Scouts all die trying to protect Usagi from getting, because she had been captured and was about to be killed, right? Then Mamoru dies protecting her, and then at the end, if I'm tearing up, it's because it's very emotional for me. But at the end, she decides to make the same sacrifice her mother did, right, to save everyone. And her friends were so close to her, they came back from the dead to help her, and that's why she was able to live and be reborn again for the second season. It's such an amazing, even telling you about it, if you watch it, it's such an amazing, like, I don't know how, the writer who did it, she's a female manga writer, an artist. Oh God, what was her name? She's one of the top 10 manga creators of all time. And that she was able to put that together and then make sure the anime did this like correctly. And by the way, you have to watch the Japanese language version of it because the English sub cuts a lot of stuff out in the first season because it was they didn't think American audience could deal with all the death. You know what I mean? Yeah, sorry to skip over it, guys. It was just such an amazing, thing. And just on Babylon 5, what most people don't realize about the actors in Babylon 5, because it was such a low-budget show, JMS was hiring European actors, which is where a lot of them came from, or actors.
Yeah.
They were all classically trained stage Shakespearean actors from Europe. All of them were the main cast.
Right. Yeah, like Jakar and Delenn.
Sulas is Jakar.
Yeah.
Londo is he's one of the ones who was alive, I think, still.
Yeah.
because they die. You know, Mira Furlan, I think, was she from Czechoslovakia? She was,
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's an amazing actress. I actually went and looked at a couple of our films. Nothing I understood the words, but you can see she's a great actress. You know, and on. You know, and then when Jerry Jones, no, that was Joe Garibaldi, the actor who played Sinclair, he got sick at the end of the first season. It was never revealed why he left the show, but years later he had a combination of physical and mental illness, and that's where Bruce Bossleitner came in. You know, and they actually changed the story of Babylon 5 drastically. And my understanding is the reboot that JMS is doing is because he didn't want to redo the thing he did with the 5 seasons. Is he's going back to the original story that he had to change when the guy with Sinclair left the show. There's an animated movie that dropped about a week ago. I'm on a 5-day weekend, so I probably want to watching it tomorrow. To help purge Wheel of Prime from my head, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just such an and again, I'm not going to go off on the technology stuff, but we're here today doing this because of Lightwave 3D.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a great show, and I watched it as it came out on TV, like serially, you know. And then you had this. Actually, the first 2 seasons, I was in England, so I didn't see it. Like I'd have to wait to see it, and then when I got back to the States, then I was able to catch up. And you had this. You had, I think TNG was still going, right?
Deep Space Nine.
And Deep. I was going to say that Deep Space Nine was just starting, but I think TNG was still the first year this came out. TNG was still happening.
Kind of. I'm trying to remember the exact sequencing.
It was like 94, I think, is the last season of TNG.
So JMS originally submitted to Paramount Babylon 5, the original version of it, and they refused. And then they wanted to do a Star Trek spinoff, and that's a Pak Mara. They're basically carry on and garbage eaters, mostly carry on.
Yep.
You know.
Okay. Let's see. Cannoli says he's got to take off.
Oh yeah, sorry guys.
Okay.
I didn't want to. I was learning so much from you guys talking.
That's okay.
I remember like brief glimpses of these shows, but it's always fascinating to get deeper dives.
It's just been remastered. If you want to go buy it and watch it, now's the time. You know.
Yeah, no, it's this great. I appreciate the insight. I wasn't talking. I was taking in all the knowledge there for all these shows. It's fantastic, especially Sailor Moon, because Vex has been trying to get me to watch that for a while now, and it's on Tubi for free in the original Japanese. I believe
you should. You
okay.
and Mrs. Sassy would. I think Sassy would love it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. You might watch that together.
Be careful with which version of Sailor, because there's actually 2 anime adaptations of it. Sailor Moon and then Sailor Moon Crystal.
Okay.
Either is really okay if we get the Japanese ones. The problem with the original adaptation, and for those who don't know this is why Macross has only become available in the last couple of years. The Japanese, throughout the entire 1980s, early 90s, the Japanese companies didn't care about international rights. So a bunch of shady organizations in like Korea and Taiwan bought all the rights and started making fake anime based on the real anime.
Right.
You know? So the early Sailor Moon, there's a lot of different translations of it and some missing episodes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So
sure.
I just kind of recommend maybe getting the Blu-rays that just came out because it's really, really high quality, you know?
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. I think, something Sassy and I could watch together. But yeah, Jacob, thanks a lot, man, for having me on. Congratulations on your 1 year. And like Copa said earlier, channel's very important, man. I love watching it. Right after work on the Tuesdays and whenever else you have your streams, it's great to hear about all these classic cinemas and all this stuff we talk about because, like I said in the chat, it's much needed. So keep doing the great work, man. We'll shout you out as much as I can, and I appreciate you coming on my show. That was great having you on.
Yeah, thanks, Cannoli.
Of course, buddy. And Shield Wall, glad you're back and doing well, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, man. Hope your wife feels better.
Yeah, she's been
Aw.
down for about 24 hours with this
Oh,
in and out fever and chills. So I'm gonna go make her dinner.
That's
and
awful. That's awful. Lots of
It just hit-
hydration and
Yeah.
sleep as best as she can.
Yeah, it's like
yeah, definitely.
she doesn't rest ever, so she has to be forced to rest when she gets sick. So it's actually she's sleeping a lot today. But yeah, Mags, always fun with you. I love
Oh,
having.
thank you, cannoli. That's good.
Of course, and Matt, of
And-
Yeah,
course.
Tell
tell
Mrs. Sassy to get better soon and get
yeah,
better.
I will.
tell her we're all thinking about her and
Yep.
hoping
Yeah.
she gets feeling better quickly.
Thank you guys. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, later, man.
All right, later on.
Italian power.
Yeah.
See you later, Paisan.
Did we have one more after this? I thought you had another one, Jacob.
I've got 3 more, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah, one of mine was Deep Space Nine.
Yes, I agree.
Which is pretty. I'd picked this early before I knew anybody else had picked or what everybody else's picks were. So a lot of people were upset that this was like a ripoff of Babylon 5, which it's just
Wasn't.
too close not to be a slight ripoff.
I don't know.
No, the court documents proved it. What happened is the JMS submitted B5 to Paramount, and then Paramount rejected it, and then said we want to use that buzz doing a Star Trek show. And Ronald Moore and the other guy, the other two, Brian, was it Brian and Braga? The one who were doing Next Generation, the two there. They had worked up something like Deep Space Nine, which was like Babylon 5, entirely separately, but they was very similar because of both were influenced by the same sort of thing, sort of political drama in space type of thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, Deep Space Nine got better when they kicked more off of it, which led him to go and doing that abominable Battlestar Galactica reboot. But Deep Space Nine got a lot better when they did it. So.
Yeah, really, my favorite part about it is the whole Dominion Ward. That was my favorite.
Oh yeah, that episode. In the Pale Moonlight or something like that, where they murk the Romulan ambassador.
Yeah, right.
That's one of the 5 best episodes of Star Trek of all time. In fact, it's the only one. Like there's my favorite Star Trek episodes. 3 of them are TOS episodes. There's that episode we just mentioned, and there's the episode Darmok from Next Generation.
Yeah, Darmok is my favorite episode.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense if you logically think about it. Like, how could they communicate this way? But I liked it. It just made sense. It was great acting. The story was awesome.
But we're communicating that way right now. We're telling stories about what we watch these TV shows on, and
it's just at the time it was, and then the way that they transformed the Ferengi in DS9, and later episodes of TNG into like an actual thing that made sense. That they have the laws of acquisition and just so well acted.
That was after Roddenberry got kicked off because Roddenberry was making Next Generation very political. And Ferengi was supposed to be capitalism bad, whereas Federation was communism good.
Yeah.
But I think the similarities between B5 and DS9 is that they're both space stations, and things happen around it.
Yeah.
It's not like TNG or even TOS where you're constantly traveling and it's a new area. It's Kane walking the land, going to a new town every time, like Kung Fu, as opposed to everything being stationary and happening there. And you have the same characters that you run into, like Morn sitting in the bar, and you see Morn for years before he gets his own story. And just, the politics and the changes and the swings and loyalty and the tragedies and triumphs of all the characters is really good. And, you've got Captain Sisko.
Yep. Gave us Sisko.
Yeah. He was a great captain. You've got, he's a single father. You know, now he'd be a deadbeat dad and have an alcohol problem, and you know,
Yeah,
like
Deep
yeah,
Space Nine also flushed out a lot of races. The Klingons, the what are they called? The Cardassians. I thought they really did good fleshing those uh, races out. What y'all think?
So just to follow up on what I said before, how Babylon 5 used the Lightwave 3D, Deep Space Nine, being a much higher budgeted product, was capable of using the room full of mainframes to do their CGI. Right.
Okay.
10 years later, like everyone was using the desktop software to do it.
Yeah.
yeah, because it was putting out good stuff, and it was way cheaper to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that just makes sense. Also, I mean, come on now, Dax. Whew, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't like the Dabo girls?
They're all right, but
Yeah.
Dax is where it's at for me anyway.
Terry Farrell?
Yeah, and not the worm either. The worm can go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just so interesting, and it had great actors in it as well. Oh yeah, and Major Kira, yeah, she's up there.
The only thing I didn't like on Deep Space Nine was when they decided to make the Doctor a genetically engineered super being.
Oh, I liked him. I liked the actor.
No, the actor was
I
fine.
thought he was great. Yeah.
Although he overacts sometimes.
Yeah.
Alexander.
As a Redax, Mr. Tickle Trunk, you are insane. You're out of your mind.
Alexander Siddig.
Siddig, yeah.
Yeah, Alexander Siddig. Yeah, he the first 2 seasons he had his it was something else. He didn't use the Alexander part for his name because he's Egyptian, I think. But then they went with Alexander after that. I don't know what the reason was, but
the actor who played Odo, I don't know if any of you guys remember Benson.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Benson. Yeah.
Renee Auberjonois.
Yep.
Auberjonois, something like that. Yeah. I like that's actually kind of how I found Deep Space Nine, because it was syndicated, so it's hard to find stuff on syndication.
Yeah.
I loved Benson when I was a kid, so I was like, hey, that's that guy from that's a Star Trek show, you know.
So here's my Mr. Tickle Trunk. Here's my take on Ezri Dax. I think they should have replaced Hot Dax with a guy. Should have been a man.
I would okay if they just like had a completely new character.
Yeah, that's it. Sigrid El Fidel became.
Yeah, because this is like he's starts with an S. He's from one of those countries. It's not Syria.
I thought he was Egyptian.
And she left for legitimate reasons. She got on a TV show with Ted Danson, a much higher paying job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was stupid. It was like one of the worst comedies I've ever seen. But yeah.
Yeah, I hated the way she got out of left the show. You know what I mean? It's kind of a weird death.
Hey, thanks. Love it. Ever after.
Hey, love it.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
But she had the wedding with Worf. That was a huge event. I remember
that was cool
when that happened. Like everybody, it was like the red wedding of the '90s. Everyone was talking about it at work and around the water cooler, and
but it didn't break the internet like the red wedding did.
Well, because we didn't have the internet like we do now. If this would have happened and we would have had like Twitter and TikTok and all that kind of stuff, it would have been huge. I think. But it had so many good plot lines, so many stories. Yeah, Garrick, he was a great character. Not Jakar. Man, what's his name? He's the Cardassian guy.
Gul Dukat.
Gul Dukat, yes.
Yeah.
He is awesome too.
He's a great villain.
Great character, yeah. And then you got the Kai Wynn. She's patently evil while not openly being so.
Yeah, right.
You know, and
Well,
then
you showed my favorite villain on the show, Eddington,
Eddington.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
he was good. He was
Yeah.
good.
who
Yep.
famously played Colwyn in Krull.
Did
Really?
Deep Space Nine is where Section 33 or whatever it's called, the
Section 31.
Section
Yeah.
31 that's where they first reference it in this show.
Yeah.
It
I
makes
think
a
so.
big
Yeah, first
appearance.
reference. Is it decent? No, is it a Next Generation that first dropped to Section 31?
Oh, hey Nomi, thanks for being here.
Hey, Nomi.
Okay,
I can't remember.
Was it the cloaking device episode?
Yeah. Where they
31.
where they
I'm gonna
were,
look it up. If
yeah.
I don't remember, I want to remember it, so I have to look it up.
But and this is when a season was like 23 or 24 episodes, not this 8 episode crap that we're getting these days out of shows.
Yeah.
That
No, you're right. It
cost
was a Deep Space Nine
10
episode.
times more and look worse.
Yeah.
And in this, they did such a great job of keeping it a secret, because when the crew of Deep Space Nine were dealing with it, they kept it secret from everybody. And now it's like everybody knows who Section 31 is in Star Trek. You know what I mean?
Well, the premise of Section 31 was they're hiding in plain sight.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like it's Section 31 of the charter of the Federation or something like that. So there's an organization there, but on paper it looked like there was like 2 people in it or something. From like the logic is, but in reality it was a super secret intelligence organization.
Yeah.
Like the hidden plain
Yeah.
sight.
And the Grand Nagus, he was great.
Yeah.
There's the one part where he's in the shuttle with Quark after he saved him and stuff,
Yeah.
and he's like, well, get us out of here, but don't go too fast. I got this at a significant discount. So he's so cheap, he couldn't even get a good shuttle.
Remember when he died? I like when he died, they sold his body parts off.
Yeah, well, that's how they do it, and they build an entire culture around the Ferengi and their capitalism, or whatever. Like when you go to the like you got to pay for everything. Like even when you go to see the guy, you had to have 2 slips of latinum just to get in. But it worked. It was a functioning society that made sense, that you could navigate if you knew the rules.
Yeah.
And then you got the wormhole. You got the wormhole entities. Yeah. You got.
Yeah. Really good show.
And then Nog, and Nog was a great character.
Did Ray Aberjoynis die?
Yeah, he did. A couple years ago.
Yeah. So my next one is Batman, the animated series.
The animated series, yeah.
Such a fun show. And
The only place the
really
real
good.
Harley
Holds
Quinn
up well.
actually appeared.
The only place what?
The only place Harley Quinn, the real one, has actually ever appeared. Not the mockery they've turned the character into since then.
Yeah.
Not the booty shorts hot one?
Yeah. She's attractive. Margot Kitty or Robbie, whatever her name is, Robbie. She's attractive, fine. I don't mind seeing hot chicks, but they ruined the character. You know what I mean? And
yeah, they did.
Well, they didn't do the Joker any favors in that movie either.
Yeah. And this show holds up really well too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the DC animation is way better than anything they're doing movie wise.
This was what was it? What was his face who did the Batman voice?
Kevin Conroy.
No, wasn't it what's his name? Played Luke Skywalker, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So he was the Joker. Batman was he actually played Batman in the CW series in the Crisis crossover.
He died recently, didn't he?
Yeah, he died.
Yeah,
Arlene Sorkin, who played
Kevin
Harley,
Conroy.
died.
Yep.
Kevin Conroy. Yeah. Arlene Sorkin just died. A lot of great voices in here.
There was a Supergirl cartoon that had Darkseid, and he's trying to kill her, or like get him and bring her to our planet or something, and then Superman fights him at the Kent farm.
So
And that
Yeah,
one was amazing. That was an amazing show.
That was Superman animated series, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an adaptation. If you guys, the guy who is it, Jeff Loeb. He used to be a great comic book writer until his kid died, and that was one of, was it Loeb? Am I thinking right? He wrote like The Long Halloween. In any case, he was his kid died, and he became a horrible comic book writer after that, which is justifiably fine, whatever. But he wrote Superman and Batman in the early 1990s. And yeah, that's the adaptation of it. And that was a follow-up because there was a long-running like comic with Superman and Batman called World's Finest, and that's how we think of as the comic fandom. World's Finest means Superman and Batman, right? The Brave and the Bold is Green Lantern and Green Arrow, that type of thing. Old DC comics. So Supergirl had been erased with Crisis on Infinite Earths, right? And then they brought a fake Supergirl back, right? But then the fans didn't like it. They wanted the real Supergirl back. So finally, Loeb does Superman Batman and brings back the real Supergirl, Kara Zor-El, and then Darkseid kidnaps her because he wants to make her into a female Fury. That's his like his pack of female goddesses who are like elite assassins, and Granny Goodness trimmed all of them. And it was a great comic arc. And at the end, Superman beats a Darkseid avatar up because at the time something happened to weaken Darkseid. But it's a really great comic arc and it was a pretty good movie adaptation.
Hey, Mags has got to go here in about 10.
Okay, Mags.
Do you have anything you want to add, or any more stuff you want to talk about, Mags?
No. Those are those were the top 3 that I could think of. A lot of times when people ask, especially with the tagging games on Twitter, like, what's your top 5 video games and all this other stuff? I'm like, I usually freeze at that stuff because I'm like, there's so much out there.
Really? You're way better at Twitter than I am.
I can't choose from, with all of this stuff the good stuff that's out there.
These are like 3 out of all the shows that we think are good.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do that.
It is hard, and you want to choose and at the same time you want to choose a wide variety and range to be able to introduce people. Not that you have, you're narrow. Not that I'm saying people are narrowed minded into staying in one lane, but I'm like, there's such a good variety and plethora of quality shows and entertainment that's out there, from children's content to adult content, from the 70s, 80s, 90s, all of that span of time. So it's like the Batman animated series and the Justice League series that came out in the 2000s. It's like there's so much quality content out there from all ages, for all ages. And you shouldn't just stay in one space. I think everybody should explore it all and really kind of, it's kind of like it's cultural phenomenon here. And a lot of us grew up with a lot of this stuff too. So it kind of made us. That's the entertainment that made us. So that's it. And I'm probably missing shows that God, like I grew up with Gundam, I grew up with Robotech, I grew up with Digimon, Pokemon, I grew up with a variety of shows. I know reruns in general because that was just my generation. But yeah, there's so many quality shows out there that there's enough to explore and keep you busy and happy for the rest of your life. So that's all I have to add.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jacob. Congratulations on your 1-year YouTube anniversary. Hopefully there's many more YouTube anniversaries to come, and I look forward to the next movie we talk about. So thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor being a part of this 1 year, and I will see everybody around Shield Wall. Matt, thank you. It's good to see you guys again, and I will catch everybody later.
All right.
Thank you,
always
Max.
a pleasure being on a stream with you, Max.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shieldwell. Thank you, Jacob.
You have a good night.
You too. Bye, everybody. Thank you, chat.
Bye.
Love y'all. Bye.
Later. All right.
This was the best era of animation for US in the 90s with Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Justice League Unlimited, Batman Beyond. I'm missing a couple. The Static Shock series was in this time period. There's more. We call it Batman Animated Series, but there were really 2 or 3 Batman. There was Batman Animated Series and 2 short follow-ups that are considered not to be Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah. Was it Batman Continues or something like that?
Batman
Is
and
that
Robin,
one?
I think, was one of them, like a 1-season thing.
Okay.
I have to switch to my external speaker. My headset's about to die.
Uh-oh.
That's why I'm cable headset all the way.
No, it's
Yeah,
fine.
there was.
I'm being lazy. I have to replace the battery. It's about 8 years old. Like this. This is a Steel Series 7, and I bought it in 2012 or whatever. I got a half price, and then whatever. It's what's the best headset I've ever bought. And I've been fixing it as I go because to get something this quality, I have to pay $100. You know, so it's like I think I paid $170 for it, half price on Amazon. So I have to replace the battery.
Hey there, Mando.
Hey, Mando.
Yeah, I always didn't really know when I was watching it as a kid, didn't know who the voice actors were and stuff. I mean, you couldn't look it up, not like now, but yeah, it's cool to now look back at these series and see who all the voice actors are.
So different back then. What is this, 92? The only you heard rumors, maybe a magazine had an article if you were lucky. That was it. There were no interviews. You couldn't just, now the voice actor might have their own YouTube channel. And if they're cool enough, they might come on someone else's show. You know what I mean? Just like you can get them to come on and talk about their stuff.
Yeah.
Crazy. And if you're somebody like the Critical Drinker, you can pull down like really big name actors or artists that'll come on your stream.
Although there's a lot of we mentioned Bruce Boxleiter before. His wife, Melissa Gilbert, Little House on the Prairie, Melissa Gilbert, she did some voices on this show.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's another.
I think even Adam West guest starred and did some voices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, the Gray Ghost was one of them.
Yeah, because wasn't it around this time he was doing the mayor or whatever for The Simpsons?
Yeah, the fake Kennedy mayor. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, wasn't he actually playing himself in that? I can't remember. It's so weird.
The dude who played Bull on Night Court played Two-Face.
Yeah.
Now you're saying this is the true depiction of Harley Quinn?
Yes.
Here.
Yeah.
She's attractive, but she's not like pardon the expression, slutted out. If you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
She's
no satin booty shorts, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's a
Arlene Sorkin voiced her first.
Yeah. Yep. And she
passed away.
Hey Blair, good to see you, man.
Hey there, Blair.
I mean, Margot Robbie could have played Harley Quinn, but she played the modern comic slutted out version of it instead of the real character.
Yeah.
The saddest episode I'm about to mention, Clayface. Might be the saddest one of the saddest cartoon episodes ever was the Clayface episode.
Yeah. Really good episode too.
And they did a nice job with the animation style for this and Superman, where obviously they have their origins in the 1930s and all that. Well, you could see sort of some of the throwback elements of the animation combined with some of the modern,
Yeah. And they took the it was the theme music was from the 89 Batman too.
Oh, from the
Yeah.
I always remember that. Just like Superman will always be the John Williams theme. The Batman theme will always be the one from the 1990s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing the '70s Superman in a theater.
Oh, that's one of my
That's cool.
5 favorite movies.
Christopher Reeves was such a good casting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Was he fighting a vulture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one. This is one of my favorite episodes too. The
Is this a
Man
gargoyles?
Bat.
Oh, I thought it was a gargoyles crossover.
It's Man Bat. It's a scientist who
Batman and
injects
Man
himself with some kind of serum from bats, and it turns him into a giant bat.
Poison Ivy.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Mad Hatter too. He was good in it.
Scarecrow.
Scarecrow.
Now that is a character that actually I thought they did well in the Bale movies. Scarecrow.
In the Nolan movies.
No, I think I'm thinking by the actor Christian Bale. You know.
Oh, okay.
So I still blame Nolan for the Snyderverse. So I don't like. I like Nolan as a filmmaker, but him deciding he didn't want to do Superman is what caused the Snyderverse.
Oh.
Are you talking about when you were a kid, Cajun, or just recently? Man Bat scaring the crap out of you. Wait,
Yeah.
is he talking about the animation or the video game? Because I thought there was an Arkham Knight game.
There are a bunch of Batman games in the last 10 years. I have
there
one
have
of them
been.
in Steam that my cousin was really big into. I tried playing. The problem with my arthritis made playing video games hard enough for the last 5-6 years.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a good series. I recommend it. And my last one is probably my all-time favorite is Band of Brothers.
It's really good.
Really great stories and good acting. And two, it's they got a lot of British actors, which are most of them are classically trained.
Yeah.
So.
The guy who played the main, I guess you would say the main star of it, the lieutenant / captain,
Damian Lewis. Yeah.
So now I'm a person who has dealt with and deals with mental illness in my life. The best TV show to ever depict a mentally ill person dealing with it on screen was a 2009 TV show called Life, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he played the lead in that show. In the first season, he was falsely in prison. He was a cop falsely in prison for like 10 years or whatever. And he portrayed a mentally ill person dealing with it, like surviving with it, better than I've ever seen any on screen, any other role. The guy's a great actor. He's underrated.
Yeah.
Ron Livingston was just in the new Flash movie. He's the dad of Barry Allen in that movie. He was also in Office Space, so another good, great movie.
Yeah, another good show.
My grandpa, his oldest brother, that was Uncle Pat. No, not Uncle Pete. All my uncles in that area were all in World War II, so I have a lot of stories they told me, and this is the most accurate to what they've told me. Is Band of Brothers over any movie other than the opening of Saving Private Ryan.
Hey, what's up, AJ?
Yeah.
Sorry I missed your. See you pop in there. What's going on? Thanks for being here.
Yeah, man.
Like the thing with the officer in the first couple of episodes, right? So a story my grandfather told me was, so he was in his unit, his battalion, not his battalion, his company, right? They were a scout company, and one particular point, they were assigned a new lieutenant who was a total, he would say Italian, total fracking, blah, 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 right? They use Italian for that. And this lieutenant, and you'll know this, Shield Wall, he made them walk down the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Instead of separating two columns, walking on the side of the ditches, separated so machine guns couldn't take down more than one of them, you know. And so that's the type of lieutenant that this lieutenant, the training lieutenant, reminded me of my grandfather was talking about him, you know. And my grandfather
Yeah.
said when there was a point when he was about to kill the lieutenant, but then he got taken out by a German sniper. Like for
Oh,
real, like three other guys died with him. You know what I mean? But like otherwise, he said had he lived through that, my grandfather, he would have killed him.
What people kind of fail to realize is you have a professional military now, right? That's all volunteer. But back then it was you drafted everybody. So
Yeah.
you got the range of quality of leaders and troops was huge. So now since it's a volunteer force, you get a lot of good people, but you don't get the cream of the crop. You don't get like PhDs and stuff, but you also don't get complete morons. Wherein you widely conscript, that's what you wind up getting is
yeah.
the best of the best and the worst of the worst.
And this show portrays that really well.
Right. And some people are very good at one thing, but not the other. Like Sobel, right? He was really good at training. He trained these guys hard. He was kind of a D about it, but it made them better in the long run. It's just his methods were not good, and he himself was not cut out for the field, which was apparent.
I remember reading like related to this that like the Marine Corps, the modern Marine Corps, like as of like the 80s, decided that the training officers would no longer follow them to the field. So for that reason, you know, because most of the trainers, they call DIs in the military, in the Marines, right?
Mm-hmm.
They weren't very effective in the field as leaders, but they were great trainers, you know.
Right, and people sometimes you can be promoted beyond your ability, where they're good, field grade junior grade officers, but they're bad field grade officers. Or once they get into strategy and not tactics, they're no good anymore. They can't manage it. You see that again and again throughout that. One interesting thing about this show, for me personally, was I was deployed for the second Gulf War, and I was working 12 plus hour shifts. And when I got off, I had this sent to me in the metal DVD tin and stuff. And I would watch an episode after work, and then I'd have to go immediately to sleep because I already eaten and prepared my uniform and stuff. But I'd have to go to sleep and then wake up within about 6 or 7 hours to go back to work again. So this was, like a month's worth of watching while I was there, while we were doing stuff. So it was interesting to watch this while we're building up to the kickoff. And then, then we did the whole shock and awe thing. But hey, love it ever after. Have a good one.
Yeah, later. Love it.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming by.
But this was and then also pair that with I think Jackass had just come out.
This has a sister series, The Pacific, by the way.
Yeah, I think I might have watched one episode and was like, it's not the same. It wasn't as same.
Are you
quality.
Italian?
Me? No.
Yeah. If you were Italian, you would watch The Pacific because the main character is John Basilone, who's the most decorated U.S. Marine of World War II. Every Italian Marine I told, obviously this is they're boasting a little bit. They think he would actually got the Medal of Honor twice because he got it once, and then when he died on, I think, Iwo Jima, he got it once on Guadalcanal.
He got the Navy Cross.
Yeah,
I think.
and they said had he lived, the push would give him the Medal of Honor again.
Right.
What he did in Iwo Jima.
Yep.
Yeah.
And growing up, all the Marines who were Italian Marines, all Basilone, it's all the name you heard. Even John Basilone, all you heard. It's like.
Yeah, I saw when I was at the NCO Academy, we had to do a speech on like a report in like a presentation and a speech on a Medal of Honor winner. So I did a lot of research on a lot of different people. And he was one of them, but I wound up doing one on Sergeant Smith. He was one of the first ones to get a Medal of Honor for Iraq.
Yeah.
In 2003.
Yeah, but Band of Brothers, like I said, all the stories I heard from my grandpa and Uncle Frank, who was in the ones who were in the European theater, right? Was Grandpa, Uncle Frank, um, two others. Uncle Benny was Uncle Benny had the funny stories. He was a cook in the Air Force, and he was in the same unit as Phil Rizzuto from the Yankees. But all the European theater ones, this show most accurately depicts the stuff that they told me about, how their soldiers, how it was for them. You know?
I know they really went out of their way to try to make it as accurate as possible. I think for people that are alive today, it's hard to really fathom the the impact that that entire war had on actually the entire world, on everybody, but especially Americans. As you know, you're coming out of the Depression, and now it's a world war. Hey, angry Canadian, what's up, man? Um, and
Angry Canadian.
we're talking about, now we got weapons of mass destruction and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
But they had those things back then. They were literally firebombing entire
Yeah.
cities off the map.
oh, Dresden, yeah.
Yeah, with carpet bombing, and you had machine guns, and so you could wind up
This is the
killing
meat grinder
massive
war.
amounts of people, right?
This
It
was the
just
last
took
meat grinder
longer
war,
than
basically.
it does today. But think of the enormity of that, the amount of people that they put under arms and into the service. And one of the other aspects is not a vast majority of people that joined didn't even actually see combat. They were in a support role, or they were standing guard in Panama at the Panama Canal.
Isn't it? I mean, on depending on the era, only 10 to 20% of the U.S. military are designed to be direct combat forces. A lot of it's logistics and
The tooth to tail is usually 5 to 1, so that means you
Yeah.
need 5 support people for every trigger puller,
Yeah.
or more, plus all the logistics and everything that goes with it.
Yeah.
And it's different depending on your service. Like if you're in the Navy, what you need to support you and all that, because that's more, and the entire crew is using one thing as a weapon system, which is the boat and the planes.
Yeah.
But so it's not just some guy in the field with a gun.
Yeah, right.
But so it's a little different, but that's the concept of it all. And
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, I don't want to downplay the beach landing in this show either, because Spielberg did both of them. And but whereas in Saving Private Ryan was like the first thing you saw when they went back to the time period, here was what, the third episode. Well, they went in on the planes, right? So they were
yeah, they jumped in with the
Yeah, they
They only
jumped
showed a
in.
little bit of the beach there, so I think that's why Spielberg didn't do it that way.
right,
Um,
because these guys would have not seen the beach landings. They were
Yeah,
already
think they
in
showed
country.
us-
They
when
were
they happened.
there when
Yeah.
the beach landing started.
Yeah, they'd already jumped in and were scattered by that point.
Yeah.
I know that this gets a lot of credit, same with Spielberg, but actually Forrest Gump, the ambush scene, is, a lot of people are saying that's one of the most accurate depictions of combat, where you don't even see the enemy, you just see the tracers and stuff blowing up near you. You don't know where it's coming from, where anyone's at. You don't really see the enemy, and that happened a lot, especially in the Pacific
Yeah,
Theater.
it did.
You're getting shot from places you didn't even know where they were at. You never saw the Japanese out in the open. They were always fighting from a spider hole or a bunker or
Well,
concealment.
Well, my grandpa talked about, like, usually he tried to talk the stories that was somewhat funny or somewhat like he stayed away from the really dark stuff most of the time. But he said basically you didn't know you were dead. Like, you were alive and then you were dead, and the guys who were dead were just dead. Like a shot would get them, or a bomb would get them, or
Yeah, that's how
whatever.
it happens. It just out of nowhere. You didn't even know where it came from, because not everything in like the movies where it's all tracers, and it's not like video games where the guy's highlighter or whatever.
No.
Like when my grandma died, that was the first time my grandpa cried in decades, and he was saying, my best friends had their heads blown off to me right next to them on that damn beach, and I didn't cry then, and he couldn't understand why my grandma died.
It's because when you're in those situations, you put yourself in a mental frame where it's expected.
Yeah.
That's war, where
Yeah.
your wife dying is different than that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's saying he couldn't understand it, but he was just venting or whatever.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. Plus, when you're young, these things, the way they impact you is a lot different. For all of us, when you were 15, and you saw Sailor Moon, I don't know, it would probably impact you different than if you saw it for the first time today with all that life experience behind you.
Yeah.
And you're,
Well, yeah, of course that's true. I mean, it's kind of funny. That's a whole other topic. Like, I'm more emotional in my 50s as I'm like this age now than I was back then. I was like a stoic, like, locked up inside type of person.
well, that's because you have all that life experience and
Yeah.
all the,
Yeah.
the trials and tribulations
And decades of proper mental health.
yeah, exactly. But for the most part, warfare is for the young, for people like that. And sadly, you have to have people that are in that mind frame to get somebody to knowingly charge a machine gun nest is a lot different than you need somebody to fix an airplane or cook a food for 1,000 troops. That mindset is different, and you have to train differently for it, and you have to recruit differently for it. There's an aptitude that people need, and a modicum of psychosis is probably a requirement for that. But that being said, this was a great show when it came out. It was a huge hit.
And
There were a lot of World War II veterans that were still alive at this time.
Yeah.
So
it was cool that they got actual veterans to introduce the episodes. Really good.
Yeah. I like how they didn't, if I recall, they didn't tell you who the veterans were until a couple episodes in. Like they just showed them talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. And those were
and this one has a special place because my dad was 100. My grandpa was 101st and went through everything you see in this series. So it really connected to my grandpa, and he died when I was 2 or 3, so I barely remember him, and this connects me to him, so it's cool. He was in a battery battalion, so he was right along, probably
artillery.
Given artillery, yeah. So he was probably given artillery support to these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my grandfather was in the 47th Infantry, 9th Division.
Yeah, I think for people these days, it's hard to understand the scope of the amount of people that were just in theater doing stuff.
Well, I tell people, okay, so there's multiple beaches they landed on D-Day, like Normandy, one of them, but there's sub beaches of that. So my grandfather went on the second wave in at Normandy after the first wave had been multiple decimated, right? He was the only guy from his company that survived the entirety of World War II.
Unscathed? Wow. Like not wounded or anything?
Oh, no. There's a battle at the bridge at Remagen. It's a really good movie, by the way, if you haven't seen it. And that there was a bridge that when they were trying to get into Berlin.
It was the last bridge on the Rhine. Once they got across that, it was open all the way. There were no more.
Well, what happened is that they had a whole bunch of German units trapped on the Allied side, and they wanted to get to the bridge and blow it up so they can take the Germans out and make them surrender. But the Germans wanted they were competing between the Nazis and the German military. The German military wanted to blow the bridge after they got the troops across, but the Nazis wanted to hold the bridge so they can wage an offensive out of it, right? So the battle waged across the bridge several times before it got blown up. My grandfather was on the first wave of those who took the bridge for the Allies. On the way into the bridge itself, he got hit by artillery, and he lost his kneecap, most of his stomach and intestines. He woke up. He didn't wake up till 2 weeks later in the hospital in an LA part of Germany. And they told his family he'll be dead in a couple of weeks. He lived like until he was 95 years old.
Wow.
There was Sicilian gumption.
Yeah.
But, and everyone else in his company was dead, who came in on the second wave of Normandy.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
He is on TV. There's a TV show called Men of. Oh, I'll find the name of it. It was one of those World War II TV shows. The Something Men, in like they had like in the 50s they had a whole bunch of like war footage TV shows, and in the opening crawl there's the 47th. You see them going around like a trail, and my grandfather was like the 6th or 7th guy in that stock footage.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
Not just to hear stories about that, but to actually see him in a video with the other men. That's great. That's
Yeah.
cool.
It's always interesting to see people that you only ever knew as old in a young photo,
Yeah.
like how different they look and what it might have been like to know them then, as opposed to your grandparents or your great grandparents or whatever. So that's
And now, like, they're all gone for the most part. I think I have one relative of that age left. She's like 100. So all of this are either the historical records or the stories they told us, right? So the living war now are the few remaining Korean vets and the Vietnam vets. They're starting to pass.
Yeah, your average Vietnam veteran is in their late 60s, early 70s,
Yeah.
mid 70s now.
And then another. I mean, I won't be here for it. My health isn't great, but I hope I make 70. Whatever. But you guys, Jacob, not Jacob, Shieldwall, you'll be the living history in about 20 more years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. If I make it that far.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I know what you're saying.
But
Yeah.
like once the people who live through it pass, then you have only the written records, which are just big piles of documentation.
I know. I remember what it's like before the internet.
Yeah. And the stories told to their kids and grandkids. And once the kids and grandkids die, all you got left are the documents. But now at least these good TV shows and movies, not that there's, I mean, well, I'm not saying they're the most accurate things in the world, but at least you can watch a show like this 30 years from now and get a more better sense of it than, because I can't tell the story anymore 30 years from now. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, once I do put my head in a jar like the like Futurama.
Like Futurama.
You'll just see like this, like on my YouTube channel, like with the head floating in the air.
Up in there with President Nixon.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. This was a good show, and yeah, it was probably one of the better ones.
Yeah, this in the Pacific, I would recommend to anyone.
If another good war movie is 1978's A Bridge Too Far. That's a good movie.
Yeah, that is a good movie.
Yeah. Well done. That's got a lot of they filmed a parachute drop where they put a camera on a guy, and that's pretty good.
That's cool.
Yeah. World War II movies.
Mm-hmm.
The movie I remember the most, and it's because it's the same reason I remember the stupid Rainbow Bright and the Star Stealer movie to the day I'll die and hate it. But I like the other movie, I'm about to mention, because we got VHSs in the 80s to videotape, and I was obviously the techno person who actually make the thing work. So when they wanted to make copies of tapes, so I had to record and edit out all the commercials in The Longest Day, and then make copies for everyone in the family. Movie. Oh, it's a very good movie, yeah.
Yeah.
But like I had to make like 47 copies of it or some crazy number like that after editing all the commercials out. I was like 10 years old or whatever when they made me do it. Like, and they didn't believe me with the auto copy. I'm like, it'll work. No, you have to watch every copy. I'm like, no.
The 1970s All Quiet on the Western Front with the guy from the Waltons was good. Yeah. I actually like it better than the new one. I didn't really care for the new one as much, the modern one that just came out. I mean, it was okay, but I didn't feel like it was the same quality to me. And what I mean is, as far as like how the actor conveyed things or whatever.
Right.
Sands of Iwo Jima with John Wayne. We were just talking.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, we were just spoilers, people who haven't seen it, but we were just talking about how easy it is to die in battle. Remember the ending of that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if we just think of World War II, if we go off of World War II, my favorite war movie, which we should maybe do on one of your things, Jacob, Black Hawk Down, the extended edition.
Oh yeah.
Also
that Black Hawk Down movie is a little. So I actually got to meet and interact and kind of work with people that were attached to that. That's how old I am. I was stationed in England when that whole thing went down, and I was actually in a special operations air unit fixing their planes for them. So some of the people that were on that base that worked in that community knew some of the people. Like there was a pararescue guy that won a medal. I think it was a Medal of Honor, but it might have been Air Force Cross for landing and going in to that first one that went down, not the second one where the two guys were pulled in and ran out of ammo.
Yeah, to the two Air Force guys, was it? Yeah,
they were Army. They were Delta Force. And then the one guy got captured, and then they rescued him or whatever, got him back. But the first one that went down, right, where they all went in there, and Wilkins was his name. They called him Wilkie in the movie. He was from the base that I was at. So if those guys knew him and that whole thing that happened, yeah, it was that whole thing was just
Well, one of my cousin's brothers was one of the soldiers who went in to rescue the guys. I didn't know him, but I'm just saying he just And that movie, that event, the real event, is one of the reasons I will almost never vote for Democrats again.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But it was messed up. You hear the story, like the real stories from it, but the movie pretty much got it kind of right. And it was the whole thing was kind of a crap show.
Yeah, regardless of the politics, which was in the movie, I think that movie depicted for the soldiers' experience, what they were going through and why they were, you know what I mean? Like, very well. And I'm not saying it's very close to the realism per se, but like they didn't have superhuman efforts like constantly. You know what I mean? It looked like something that could have really happened. You know, I think it was like one of the first generations of the modern era of the realistic war movie, I guess you would say. You know, like usually we have all the movies now, like the Benghazi movie, was it 13 Days or something like that? Yeah.
13 hours.
13 hours. A couple of where the soldiers act more realistically in the movie as opposed to in the past. Even the Great War movies, like I think on The Longest Day, John Wayne just walks like no one could get the charge to the wall, the fortification to blow it up on D-Day. The Duke comes up, picks it up, saunters up to a cigarette, and just throws it over. You know, it's like, but he's the Duke. No German's going to shoot the Duke. You know what I mean? But there was a more modern, realistic depiction. I mean, they're still doing some superhuman, like non-real things, but it's just style is what I'm saying. You know,
right?
But really, Scott was great at that sort of stuff.
So you're saying it wasn't Extraction?
I love Extraction, but for entire other reasons, you know.
Right. Yeah. That there's a lot of good war movies out there, and
the best Korean war movie is called Hamburger Hill. No, sorry, Pork Chop Hill. Hamburger Hill was a Vietnam remake of Hamburger Hill. Okay. Pork Chop Hill. Sorry, I globally messed that reference up. So. Pork Chop Hill was the Korean War film, which was great. And they made a really good Vietnam film called Hamburger Hill, which is a remake of Pork Chop Hill. And it was a hill where the soldiers sent into a meat grinder. They had to take the hill and hold it. Then when they got beat off, they had to take it back and try to hold it again, you know?
That had Gregory Peck in it, right? The 50s one or the Korean one.
I'm trying to remember.
I think so. I think it had Gregory Peck in it.
Yeah.
Yep. And unfortunately, his grandson is the new Spock in Discovery.
Oh God.
Oh.
I don't
really. That's his grandson.
Yeah, this is grandson.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yep.
I don't blame most of the actors for these modern TV shows anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, they want jobs. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, if they don't have any say in the writing, then
yeah, I mean, you know.
Yeah. So, all right. Well,
this was a great stream. I'm glad everybody was able to, come by and pop on, and it's been a great year. So I'm looking forward to the next year of this and other stuff coming out.
Finally got those raccoons trained up.
Yeah,
to run
raccoons.
Everything in the background.
They like your little private army now. They have little mini raccoon machine guns.
It's actually a raccoon that's highlighting all the chat tonight.
Yeah,
little phalanx of raccoons.
Yeah.
And shield wall, and their tails come over with metal shields on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Tuesday is Twilight Zone Day, and Shield Wall. You're going to
Yeah,
be
we'll
on
be
there.
doing 2 episodes. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head. Just tune in, you'll see. They're going to be good because they were written in the late 50s. So
episode 9 and 10.
Yeah,
that's all I remember. But yeah, Matt, you got anything you want to plug?
Okay, well, I'm working my way through Wheel of Prime's 3 episodes. I have my my long form, more ranty commentary, and my shorter review are both up now. So I'll be doing the second and third episodes probably tonight. I'll get those up. I'm rereading the Wheel of Time book series because I have to keep my mind purged of Wheel of Prime, the TV show. So I'm doing book reviews of that. I have the first 2 books out already. Get another. I'm on off for 4 days, so I'll try to get another one out by the day or two. That's about what's going on. And if those who are curious why I'm a lurker, Matt, there are 2 names for the fandoms of Babylon 5: lurkers and fivers. So.
Oh, okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, you always got some kind of interesting little moniker there when you join a chat.
Yeah.
So, or you join in. Yeah. It's always good.
Well, thank you guys, and thanks to the chat for being coming by and hanging with us.
Yeah, a lot of people showed up. It's really good, even just to say hi.
Yeah, I think the most was up to 15. I think 15 or 16.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. And we'll see you guys Tuesday. Have a good rest of y'all's weekend, and we'll see y'all later.
All right, have a good one, everybody. Thanks for being here.
You're still going.